Chapter 1540. In the territory governed by the Jialan monarch, there were many meteorite mines that were under his protection. He was also responsible for excavating the cultivation resources within. At this moment, in one of the mines, there was an army stationed outside. They surrounded the entire area, making it so tight that not even a drop of water could pass through. In one of the passageways, Qin Wentian arrived. Other than him, there were two other immortal kings who brought him here as well as an immortal foundation maiden. Qin Wentian, the entrance to the mine is right ahead. You are lacking in cultivation resources and can use this opportunity to earn more. Young Miss is giving you a chance, you better cherish it well. The immortal king who brought Qin Wentian here smiled, his eyes gleaming with a deep meaning. In that case, please thank young Miss on my behalf. Qin Wentian smiled and nodded, but a cold light flickered in his eyes. How could he not know that the immortal king had ill intentions? On the way here, he could even flee, but he didn't do so. Because, he truly wanted to take a look at the meteorite mine the immortal king spoke of. The two of you can enter now. Not far away, another immortal king communicated with the guards here and called out to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian and the Immortal Foundation maiden then walked over with a few guards leading them towards a mountain range ahead. Qin Wentian's immortal sense gushed forth. He felt a slight shock in his heart when he saw the guards here. There were many immortal kings here, one could see how important this mine was. The mine was opened last year. Hence, after you guys enter, it will only open again after 9 years. At that time, if you guys are still alive, you can come out together with the people inside. The guard instructed Qin Wentian and the young woman before leading them into a cave in the mountain range. As they walked deeper, they finally arrived at a spatial gate. Go on in. The guard spoke. Qin Wentian and the Immortal Foundation maiden entered together. In an instant, an intense spatial energy enveloped the two of them as they soared through the air. When they appeared again, they were also exiting through a spatial gate. Qin Wentian's gaze instantly froze as he stared in shock at the scene before him. Is this the mineral vein? Qin Wentian looked down. It was as if he had come to another continent. It was a vast and endless land with mountains rising and falling. Moreover, there was a psychedelic atmosphere. The woman beside him was named Yang Yun and her cultivation base was at the 8th level of Immortal Foundation. She stared at the gleaming eyes of Qin Wentian and involuntarily spoke, Are you stupid? Do you really not know that Jialan Mingyue sent you here to die? She couldn't imagine why Qin Wentian was still so excited. Moreover, the conversation he had with the immortal king who escorted them along the way was also very strange. He was actually very polite. However, Qin Wentian was extraordinary in both appearance and temperament. Why did he look so stupid? Yun, it's true that I know nothing about the external world. What's going on with this meteorite mine? Qin Wentian asked. Yang Yun was dumbfounded. She stared ahead and replied, This is the first time I came to a meteorite mine, but I've long heard that in the vast supreme ancient immortal realms, there are many wondrous lands that can produce cultivation resources. However, the cultivation resources in the supreme ancient immortal realms are limited. Hence, those Empyreans would excavate the resources from the void around the immortal realms. In the surroundings of our immortal realms, other than the countless particle worlds, there would also be some wondrous lands. For example, there are stars that can produce immortal stones. On those stars, there would be unique mountain ranges that can produce all sorts of immortal stones. In that case, this place should be outside the supreme ancient immortal realms? Qin Wentian asked. We came here through a spatial gate. We should be outside the supreme ancient immortal realms. In the immortal realms, those major characters established their own powers, controlling incomparably powerful armies. What are they doing this for? Isn't it all for these cultivation resources? Discovering, conquering, plundering, controlling, excavating. This meteorite mine should be able to produce illusion-type immortal stones. Naturally, there might also be king-grade and emperor-grade immortal stones. As for the more valuable items, that would have to depend on luck. If those major characters discovered this place, why didn't they directly move the entire mine away? Qin Wentian didn't understand. Although immortal emperors didn't have such capabilities, he believed that the hegemonic characters of the supreme ancient immortal realms would definitely have such capabilities. Minds are born from borrowing the power of the heavens and earth. In addition, they are able to produce endless amounts of cultivation resources. The more time passes, the more precious items there would be. If they directly destroyed it and took it away, it would be a one-time use item. It can produce immortal stones by itself. Qin Wentian's eyes gleamed with sharpness. No wonder the emperor city that the Jialan monarch was in was constructed from precious resources. The people of the supreme ancient immortal realms were powerful, hence, they had the ability to discover and excavate cultivation resources. As for the people of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms, they basically didn't dare to imagine that. Just this spatial gate that could traverse vast distances wasn't something an immortal emperor could create. Why are you still not going down? A cold voice drifted over. Qin Wentian inclined his head, only to see a group of guards clad in armor, pointing their long spears at them. Before this, he actually didn't notice that there were actually experts guarding the airspace above the mine. Let's go. Yang Yun'er pulled Qin Wentian's arm and moved forward, moving towards the mine. Before the spatial gate opens, anyone who leaves the mine will be killed without mercy. A cold voice rang out. Yang Yun'er transmitted her voice to Qin Wentian, now you should understand that you are here to die, right? There are many people in the mine. There are criminals from the territories governed by the Jialan monarch, slaves from the various clans and sects, as well as people who are at their wits' end and lack cultivation resources. These people are all criminals, for the sake of immortal stones, they would kill each other and plunder. By doing so, they would be able to obtain more than 90% of the resources. Other than these people being extremely dangerous, the mine itself can also kill people. For Immortal Foundation experts like us, there's only a path of death for us. Have you offended Jialan Mingyue? Qin Wentian asked. I'm the daughter of the previous city lord of Wind Thunder City. Because my father was unhappy with Jialan Mingyue who just broke through to the Immortal King realm, he rebutted her and my entire family was sent to the various mines. Yang Yun'er's voice was cold to the extreme. Qin Wentian cast a deep glance at Yang Yun'er. After that, he bitterly smiled and shook his head. Jialan Mingyue was treating him like a criminal. Let's hope we can walk out of here alive. Yang Yun'er sighed. Let me protect you. Qin Wentian smiled. Yang Yun'er started, she stared at Qin Wentian, you, protect me? Qin Wentian nodded. Yang Yun'er smiled and walked forward, okay, I will wait for you to grow stronger in the future. Protect me. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled and shook his head, following after her. Not long later, they saw a group of experts mining ahead, using law energy to break apart the mountain range. The foundation of this mine was extremely sturdy. Even for Immortal Foundation experts, their speed of mining wouldn't be that fast. At this moment, a gaze turned over. The eyes of that person were as sharp as knives, as a cold smile appeared on his face. Let's go. Yang Yun'er transmitted her voice to Qin Wentian. Stop there. That person coldly called out. Yang Yun'er froze, only to see that person speaking, the two of you, come over and mine together. His cultivation base is higher than mine, he intentionally concealed it earlier. He's a ruthless character and might be at the Immortal King realm. Yang Yun'er transmitted her voice to Qin Wentian. Don't worry. Qin Wentian replied. He actually really went ahead to mine, punching out with his devil fists. Not long after, he saw a sparkling and translucent illusory immortal stone. Qin Wentian kept it and continued to mine. Yang Yun'er helplessly joined in as well. This mining lasted for several months and they obtained quite a lot of immortal stones. At this moment, an illusionary realm appeared, enveloping everyone within. Occasionally, they would see illusions. A king-grade immortal stone has been excavated. That fierce-looking immortal king who had been cultivating at the side suddenly opened his eyes. His immortal sense spread out, causing many illusions to appear within his immortal sense, trying to confuse them. But very swiftly, the illusions vanished as well. Everyone had a strange look in their eyes as they stared at the immortal king. Who took it? The fierce-looking immortal king stood up and asked in a cold tone. Everyone exchanged mutual glances. That fierce-looking immortal king swept his gaze over them as he spoke again, "Hand over all the interspatial rings. Senior, can you leave some for us? If we don't manage to excavate enough, we will have to continue mining for the next 10 years. Someone spoke. That immortal king released a terrifying aura as his law domain transformed into a fearsome saber domain, directly slashing that immortal king into pieces. The expressions of everyone instantly turned pale. That immortal king's eyes were as sharp as blades as he pointed to Yang Yuner, "Little beauty, go and collect his interspatial ring." Yang Yuner's body trembled. That immortal king laughed uproariously when he saw the fear on her face. "Don't worry, beauty. I won't kill you. Naturally, you have to serve me well." Yang Yuner bit her lips, her countenance was as pale as paper. Qin Wentian spoke in a light voice, "The things you want are with me. Emichem." That immortal king instantly stared at Qin Wentian as a malevolent smile appeared on his face. However, Qin Wentian's eyes abruptly changed. In an instant, a pitch-black devilish light flashed, resembling two bolts of lightning. In just an instant, that immortal king howled in pain before he screamed in agony. "Destroy!" A formless terrifying aura gushed forth from Qin Wentian, causing everyone to feel fear in their souls. With a thud, that immortal king collapsed to the ground. There wasn't even a single wound on his body. Everyone stared at Qin Wentian as shock appeared on their faces. Under their gazes, Qin Wentian walked up and took the interspatial ring from the young man. He glanced at the items inside and noticed that there were quite a few immortal stones inside. But to him, it was still far from enough. "Yuner, I might need to enter closed-door seclusion for a period of time. I'll have some time to search for more immortal stones. Do you want to come with me?" Qin Wentian stared at Yang Yuner who was still in a daze. Although he could still kill immortal kings by relying on his soul energy, he still felt extremely unhappy. He was preparing to recover his cultivation base to the immortal king realm before exiting this place. If he encountered any trouble, he would be able to deal with it. Chapter 1541. Yang Yuner stared dumbfoundedly at Qin Wentian. This fellow was so strong. Upon hearing Qin Wentian's question, she transmitted her voice over, "Miners aren't allowed to cultivate. As for those who use the immortal stones they excavate for cultivation, it's absolutely forbidden. If it's discovered, the higher-ups will immediately deal with you. That's simple. Just follow me." Qin Wentian laughed. His silhouette flickered as he departed. Yang Yuner stared at his back and followed after him. When she thought of Qin Wentian saying that he would protect her, a radiant smile involuntarily appeared on her face. Qin Wentian still thought that he was joking. There were indeed many miners in this mine and there were also quite a number of immortal kings. Qin Wentian and his group soon encountered another group of people. They didn't waste any words and immediately transformed their souls into soul bodies, directly rushing towards the two immortal kings. There were very few people proficient in soul energy. Even in the supreme ancient immortal realms, there weren't many of them. The expressions of the two immortal kings drastically changed. Terrifying law domains erupted forth but the formless souls directly rushed into the bodies of the two immortal kings. "Destroy his physical body." One of them roared. Terrifying flames instantly engulfed Qin Wentian's body. Yang Yun'er turned pale when she saw this scene. Was Qin Wentian crazy? Qin Wentian naturally wasn't crazy. Very swiftly, the two souls fused back into one and returned to his destroyed body. A powerful life force gushed forth as his body recovered at a shocking speed, causing the two immortal kings to be stunned speechless. Where did this monster come from? His body seemed to be indestructible. If they wanted to kill him, they could only destroy his soul. But sadly, his soul was so strong that they basically couldn't destroy it. This was simply a freak. Also, at this moment, their souls still contained remnants of Qin Wentian's soul energy. It felt like Qin Wentian could attack them at any moment. I won't kill you guys, and I don't want the immortal stones in your bodies. You guys can continue to mine here. I will find a place to cultivate. While you guys are mining, help me guard the area and don't allow anyone to disturb my cultivation. If not, don't blame me for being impolite. Qin Wentian said coldly. He didn't care if the other party agreed or not. He looked at Yun-er and said, Yun-er, it doesn't matter if you want to mine or cultivate with me. I'll go in first. As he spoke, he directly walked towards the depths of the mine. The two immortal kings had ashen and pale expressions as they felt a threat to their souls. Their countenances twitched. What was this? What are you looking at? Continue mining. One of the immortal kings couldn't help but roar when he saw the people in the surroundings staring at them. The crowd instantly turned and continued digging. Yang Yun'er's beautiful eyes flashed. After a moment of contemplation, she followed behind Qin Wentian and entered the depths of the mine. Qin Wentian took out the king-grade immortal stone that he had obtained previously. An illusion rule domain appeared around him, producing many illusions. He closed his eyes and sat down cross-legged. He really began to cultivate in this mine. To Qin Wentian, who had long stepped into the peak stage of the immortal king realm, there naturally wouldn't be any obstructions in his cultivation. He broke through to the next level without any obstructions. 5 years later, Qin Wentian broke through to the immortal king realm. His perception shot up to the 9 heavenly layers and he formed a connection with a constellation from the 8th heavenly layer. Although his perception was extremely powerful, it wasn't much stronger compared to when he was at his peak back then. He still couldn't break through the restrictions of the 9th heavenly layer. However, right now, all 7 of his astral souls were from the 8th heavenly layer. This was simply terrifying. Powerful astral light cascaded down from the sky, causing a huge commotion. The guards in the air all sensed the astral energy. Their eyes flashed as they stared in the direction where Qin Wentian was at. After that, they coldly snorted. There was actually someone who dared to cultivate under their noses. Very swiftly, 4 powerful immortal kings appeared outside the mine where Qin Wentian was at. Their immortal senses swept out as they coldly spoke, "Who is cultivating inside? Scram out now." The miners inside were all trembling with fear. Even the 2 immortal kings who were controlled by Qin Wentian and Yang Yun'er also came out. Yang Yun'er's countenance turned pale. These were the guards of the mine. These people basically couldn't afford to offend them. They could even kill those who didn't abide by the rules. There was no sound inside, only an illusory realm. Reckless fool. A person directly stepped out. This person was at the mid-stage of the immortal king realm. When he stepped out, the mine trembled as the violent energy caused the hearts of everyone to tremble. He walked into the mine and with every step he took, the mine seemed to be on the verge of collapsing. He directly entered the illusory realm and his immortal sense swept out frenziedly, finally seeing the location where Qin Wentian was at. Qin Wentian still sat there, calmly glancing at him only to hear the immortal king coldly speaking, "This is an important place, no one is allowed to cultivate. You actually dare to defy orders?" Qin Wentian closed his eyes and spoke, "You are merely following orders and are responsible for guarding this place. You won't even have a share of the immortal stones dug out. Why is there a need to be so serious? Just get out. Impudent. He roared, stepping out as a fearsome might erupted forth. A wave of black flames erupted forth. Don't put yourself in a difficult position. Qin Wentian's voice was as cold as ever, his eyes were still closed. Courting death. The Immortal King roared. A fist of light blasted out as the black flames enveloped it, penetrating through everything. Just at the instant the violent fist slammed into him, a beam of light radiated from Qin Wentian's body. In just an instant, an incomparably pure and holy light radiated from him. His entire person was shrouded in a layer of holy radiance, and the might of the fist directly dissipated into nothingness, as though it had never appeared before. I don't wish to offend you. Please inform the people outside not to disturb my cultivation. Qin Wentian opened his eyes, revealing a pair of terrifying eyes. The Immortal King felt a piercing pain in his eyes, causing him to have no way to open them. He let out a low roar and in just an instant, his entire body was drenched in sweat as his heart pounded violently. When he opened his eyes again, he discovered that Qin Wentian's eyes were closed again, like he had never opened them before. Thump. His heart pounded. Was this really someone who just broke through to the Immortal King realm? He didn't say anything more and turned to leave. After that, he transmitted his voice to the other 3 Immortal Kings. After that, the 4 of them silently departed as though nothing had happened. This scene caused the eyes of everyone in the surroundings to widen, like they had just seen something unbelievable. Yang Yuner drew in a deep breath as she cast a deep glance at the Immortal King. What kind of monster was that fellow exactly? Continue mining. The 2 Immortal Kings calmly spoke, knowing that they couldn't afford to antagonize the person inside. Qin Wentian didn't come out. After he broke through to the Immortal King realm, things wouldn't be as simple as before. He needed to comprehend some of his abilities again. After all, his 7 astral souls had undergone a huge transformation compared to the past. The law domains of the past naturally weren't suitable for him now. Time continued to flow. In the blink of an eye, another 3 years passed. This was already the 9th year since Qin Wentian entered the mine. Also, after a few more months, a spatial gate would open up and he would be able to leave. During these 3 years, he only broke through a single level. From the initial stage of the Immortal King realm, he broke through to the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm. Just a single step more and he would be able to return to his peak state back then. Today, Qin Wentian finally kept the immortal stones and walked out of the mine. The 2 Immortal Kings found even more people to help them with the mining. But because they had always been here, there weren't many people who would disturb them. In addition, these 2 Immortal Kings weren't weak either. Sometimes, when they encountered others, they wouldn't dare to act recklessly. Qin Wentian willed. 2 streams of formless energy flowed out from the 2 Immortal Kings, entering Qin Wentian's body. Don't worry, I already said that I wouldn't do anything to you 2. I only want you 2 to take care of me while mining. Qin Wentian smiled when he saw the nervous looks on their faces. Only then did the 2 of them heave a sigh of relief. When they sensed Qin Wentian's cultivation base, they felt their hearts twitching. This fellow, was he concealing his cultivation base before this? But what was going on when he broke through to the Immortal King realm? In addition, other people would need a very long time to break through, but Qin Wentian broke through directly. Right now, he was already at the mid-stage of the Immortal King realm. Yuner, let's go. Qin Wentian spoke to Yang Yuner. Yang Yuner nodded. Qin Wentian pulled her by her arm as their silhouettes flashed, directly soaring through the air. What the hell? The 2 Immortal Kings mumbled when they saw Qin Wentian walking away. Indeed. This daddy has cultivated for over 1,000 years and this is the first time I encountered such a strange thing. The other Immortal King spoke in a depressed manner. Are you going to do this? Yang Yuner was pulled by Qin Wentian as they soared through the air, directly ignoring the guards in the air as she spoke in a weak voice. What's there to be afraid of? These people are merely following orders. If they encounter someone they can't deal with, they would naturally close one eye. In any case, there's no need to create trouble. Qin Wentian didn't mind it as he laughed. What's your cultivation base now? Yang Yuner asked in a light voice. Mid-stage Immortal King. Qin Wentian smiled. Yang Yuner was completely dumbfounded. You were concealing your cultivation base earlier? It can be considered so. Qin Wentian casually replied, not saying anything more. They continued to soar through the air. Sometimes, there would be illusions appearing, blocking their vision. Qin Wentian also directly passed through them. Does this mine only produce immortal stones? Qin Wentian asked. Naturally not. There are many types of mines. This mine should be considered one of the more ordinary ones, only producing illusion-type immortal stones. Also, this mine has been excavated for many years. Yang Yun replied. Qin Wentian nodded lightly and continued forward. All of a sudden, a beam of light shot up into the starry space. Over there, boundless astral light cascaded downwards. Emperor-grade immortal stone. Yang Yun-er's eyes flashed with sharpness. Astral light, a sign of immortal emperors. Is this an emperor-grade immortal stone? Are these immortal stones even more valuable than an immortal king? Qin Wentian joked. You can say that. Yang Yun seriously nodded. An emperor-grade immortal stone can aid immortal kings in comprehending the immortal emperor realm. It can also generate boundless law energy, allowing one to cultivate and deepen their insights. Naturally, the attribute of the stone must be compatible. If it isn't, you can use it for a transaction. Just nice, I'm penniless now. Zhelan Mingyue, you have helped me greatly. Qin Wentian smiled. Astral light flashed as a spatial gate appeared before Qin Wentian. Just when Yang Yun was in a daze, Qin Wentian pulled her into the spatial gate. In the next instant, another spatial gate appeared as Qin Wentian and Yang Yun directly walked out from it. Qin Wentian had a spatial-type astral soul that originated from the 8th heavenly layer. When he condensed his astral soul, it was a spatial gate. Chapter 1542. Qin Wentian and Yang Yun stared ahead. Over there, an ordinary-looking stone started to transform. As the astral light from the constellations cascaded down, the light from it shone brightly as it transformed into a gigantic immortal stone. An illusory illusion frenziedly extended outwards. Such a large immortal stone, it must be priceless. Yang Yun felt shock in her heart. The currency used in the supreme ancient immortal realms was immortal stones of laws. As for the stones here, they were all naturally formed. The gigantic immortal stone in front of her was definitely a peak-grade one. Many immortal kings in the surroundings arrived, their eyes gleaming with sharpness. With such a gigantic high-grade emperor stone, even if they had to hand over 90% of its value, it would still be extremely valuable. In fact, to some criminals, it was sufficient to atone for their crimes and they might even be able to strike it rich. This emperor stone is definitely able to form an illusory formation. In addition, it's an emperor-ranked formation. If it landed in the hands of a formation grandmaster, it would simply be the foundation of a supreme illusory formation. Yang Yun sighed. The boundlessly vast space was instantly engulfed by a layer of mist, causing them to sink into it. Qin Wentian, I can't see clearly anymore. Not only was Yang Yun unable to see, even her immortal sense was affected. She couldn't even see her fingers when she stretched out her hand. But at this moment, she suddenly felt a warmth in her hand. A hand stretched out and pulled her back. After that, she saw a pair of golden eyes staring at her. That pair of eyes was incomparably resplendent, able to see through all illusions. You are right. If we continue to wait for the Emperor Stone to be baptized by the astral light, let alone obtaining it, we might even be trapped inside. Let's take it now. Another spatial gate appeared in front of Qin Wentian. After which, he stepped out and directly appeared in another location. Almost at the same instant, the sound of whistling wind drifted over as a violent aura instantly erupted forth in this space. Qin Wentian directly ignored everything. With a casual wave of his hand, a spatial screen of light enveloped the Emperor's Stone. A spatial thread appeared in Qin Wentian's hand as the meteorite that was enveloped by the spatial thread was sucked into Qin Wentian's mouth before he kept it. In an instant, the mist dissipated, and the starlight also vanished. Qin Wentian took a step in the air, instantly bringing Yang Yun away from their original location. Numerous cold gazes suddenly turned towards Qin Wentian in the air. Cold light shot out as chaotic law energy gushed forth. Qin Wentian spoke, "The Monarch Stone is already in my hands, it naturally belongs to me. If anyone dares to snatch it, I will kill them without mercy." As soon as he finished speaking, he turned around and left, ignoring all the cultivators. Courting death. Lightning Dominion. A thunderous roar rang out as violent violet lightning manifested, enveloping Qin Wentian and Yang Yun within. Within the lightning domain, terrifying demonic beasts manifested, all of them rushing towards Qin Wentian. At the same time, the lightning bolts were like apocalyptic calamities, blasting downwards. Qin Wentian abruptly turned. Golden runes flashed, landing on Yang Yun enveloping her. Qin Wentian continued pulling her along as he stepped forward, passing through the lightning domain, allowing the apocalyptic lightning bolts to slam into him, transforming into violet light that circulated around him. However, they weren't able to injure him in the slightest. The countenance of that immortal king changed. The lightning in the air grew even more violent as an illusory face appeared. Lightning blasted down once more, slamming into Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to feel his soul trembling. This immortal king's lightning attack actually contained a soul attack. Qin Wentian stretched out his palm. A moment later, a spatial sword domain appeared around that immortal king as boundless divine swords appeared in the air. Kill! Qin Wentian clenched his fist as millions of swords penetrated through everything. In just an instant, that immortal king was reduced to ashes, he had no way to resist at all. Let me remind everyone again. Marauders, kill them. Qin Wentian waved his hand and kept the interspatial ring of that immortal king before departing in a carefree manner. No one dared to chase after him. When they stared at his vanishing silhouette, they couldn't help but feel a chill in their hearts. Earlier, the law energy manifested in the air caused them to feel terror. It was like the law energy manifested by that immortal king was of an even higher level, able to suppress their own laws. Yang Yun stared dumbfoundedly at Qin Wentian. She was already in trouble. This Immortal Foundation expert who was escorted here by Jialan Mingyue's subordinates. Seems like it was truly because he wanted to come here. If not, he could have easily killed the two immortal kings who escorted them here. We have to hand over 90% of the immortal stones we excavate. Is there any way to escape? Qin Wentian stared at Yang Yun as he asked. There's no way to escape. After we exit, all our interspatial items will be taken out for inspection. In this boundlessly vast world, all the resources belong to the Realm Lord. Allowing us to obtain 10% is only because we want to do our best to excavate. If the harvests are plentiful, some criminals might even be able to atone for their crimes. This mine is under the jurisdiction of the Jialan Monarch and all the excavated resources have to be handed over to the Lifire Palace before being handed over to the Realm Lord. No one would dare to covet the Realm Lord's belongings. If not, no matter how strong you are, only death awaits you. Yang Yun spoke. This Realm Lord is truly wealthy. Qin Wentian laughed. No wonder the supreme experts of the supreme ancient immortal realms were so strict in their control. For the sake of cultivation resources, this was merely an ordinary mine. There were still many other precious mines. Since we can only obtain 10%, we can only excavate more than. Qin Wentian descended. In an instant, a sword formation appeared around him, expanding outwards in all directions. Go! Qin Wentian roared. In an instant, a supremely powerful sword formation appeared in the air, slamming down from the heavens, slamming into the mine, unceasingly breaking it apart. Below, the mine exploded, causing sand and gravel to fly about. Rumbling sounds thundered through the air as more and more immortal stones appeared. Qin Wentian controlled his sword with his immortal sense, controlling it freely. He waved his hands unceasingly, collecting all the immortal stones that appeared. Naturally, there were also times when he wasn't paying attention and the immortal stones were destroyed by his sword. This fellow. Yang Yuner was simply speechless. She stared at Qin Wentian advancing forward, starting to sweep through the mine. This was simply the actions of a madman. In the surroundings, more and more powerful experts appeared, staring at Qin Wentian. Some of them even had malevolent smiles on their faces, silently musing that there was actually such a foolish person, working so hard for others. Nobody stopped Qin Wentian. Many people followed behind him. When it was about time, they would directly harvest the immortal stones. The law energy within Qin Wentian's body seemed to be boundless. This continued for many days, attracting more and more immortal kings. Yang Yuner kept following behind Qin Wentian. Although she knew that Qin Wentian was very strong, she was still somewhat stunned when she saw this scene. Could it be that he was so confident that he was invincible among immortal kings? Among the people in the surroundings, there were many peak-stage immortal kings. Also, all of their eyes were filled with greed and cruelty. Finally, Qin Wentian stopped. He glanced at the immortal stones in his interspatial ring as a satisfied look appeared on his face. Even if he only kept 10%, his harvest this time around was already very great. In addition, if there were people who wanted to kill him for his treasures, he wouldn't be polite anymore. Let's go. Qin Wentian came to the side of Yang Yuner and was preparing to leave. However, the people in the surroundings have been staring at him for so many days. How could they allow him to leave? Numerous figures flashed, blocking his path and instantly surrounding him. The spatial light screen flashed. Qin Wentian stepped out and directly entered the spatial gate, traversing through space and directly appearing in another location. Wait for me here. Qin Wentian spoke to Yang Yuner. He actually didn't continue moving forward, but turned and walked towards the direction where the crowd came from. Those who come near shall die. Qin Wentian soared up into the air as a holy radiance cascaded down on him. His entire person was like a divinity. That was light. Qin Wentian radiated an incomparably resplendent light, causing people to be unable to open their eyes. This light was even more dazzling compared to the sun. Although there was his warning, not many people paid attention to it. Instantly, many supreme immortal kings rushed over. After that, they saw the light. The light cascaded down, as though it wanted to purify the world. Sizzling sounds rang out, followed by screams of misery. After that, those who got near Qin Wentian all died one by one after they entered the domain of light. No matter how strong their cultivation bases were, no matter what attribute energy they were proficient in, all of them were killed. Qin Wentian, who stood in the air, was like a divinity at this moment, the god of light. Those who didn't move forward were all so frightened that their bodies trembled. Terror could be seen in their eyes as they stared at this heavenly deity-like expert. The light gradually dissipated. The spatial energy transformed into countless threads that collected the interspatial rings of those experts who died. After that, Qin Wentian leisurely turned and left. No one else dared to pursue him. Since he has such strength, why did he still come to the mine to snatch the mine from us? After the panic subsided, someone spoke in anger. Everyone was speechless. Such an invincible character, he should be able to become a subordinate of a monarch at any time and would definitely be heavily nurtured. If his luck was good, he might even gain the favor of one of the world palace lords. He actually came to the mine to snatch the mine. What does this mean? Everyone was speechless. Although there were many criminals among them, there were also some who had nowhere else to go. But in terms of combat prowess, none of them could be considered to be at the peak. If not, who would come to the mine to take the risk and join a major power? Yang Yunar had already lost count of how many times she was shocked by Qin Wentian. She stared dumbfoundedly at Qin Wentian, who was beside her, and asked, "You are so strong, why did you bring me along?" "Because we came in together." Qin Wentian laughed. Yang Yunar blinked. She fell silent for a moment before she asked again, "In the immortal realms, there are many records regarding the constellations in the 9 heavenly layers. This is especially so for constellations from the 6th heavenly layer and above. But even though I've seen many astral souls from the 7th heavenly layer, I've never heard of such a powerful astral soul before." "Is that light attribute?" "It should be. My astral soul originates from the 8th heavenly layer." Qin Wentian laughed. Yang Yunar stared dumbly at him once more. Chapter 1543. The day of the mine opening finally arrived. During these few days, many battles erupted in the boundlessly vast mine. Everyone started a frenzied war of plunder. Those weaker Immortal Foundation characters were all plundered clean, and many died. In fact, there were even many immortal kings who died within the mine. Qin Wentian also encountered many plunderers. He didn't show any politeness and killed all of them. Although this was the rule of the mine, he wouldn't take the initiative to plunder. But if there were people who provoked him, he wouldn't show any mercy. Hence, the number of immortal stones on him grew more and more. When a gigantic spatial gate appeared in the air, resplendent spatial light cascaded downwards, enveloping the mine. Qin Wentian actually felt somewhat depressed. He had so many immortal stones on him, and there were even quite a few emperor stones. Was he going to hand over 90% just like that? This was something he felt extremely unhappy about. But although he was imposing inside, he was merely an immortal king. How could he covet the things of the Realm Lord? That would truly be courting death. The Realm Lord wouldn't even know about this. His subordinates would deal with him. For example, the controller of this mine, the Jialan Monarch. He knew that all the mines under the Jialan Monarch's control were connected to the Jialan Monarch's Emperor Palace through a spatial array. The resources of these mines, even if it was just an ordinary mine, wouldn't allow others to dip their fingers in it. There was only one type of people who dared to dip their fingers in these mines. They were all known as bandits, those fugitives. "Everyone, get out of here immediately." In the air, an expert guarding the spatial gate spoke. His voice covered the entire area as experts soared up into the air, passing through the spatial gate before vanishing from sight. Every 10 years, a mine would produce a large number of immortal stones. At the same time, many people would lose their lives. In fact, many people would be trapped in the mine, waiting for the next 10 years. In fact, they would continue to wait until they died and were discovered by others, who would then take away the immortal stones they had dug up. Nobody would be able to take away the resources of the mine. "Let's go." Qin Wentian and Yang Yunar left through a spatial gate. In the external world, in the mountain range, many people walked out from the caves. There were many experts guarding the area, and there were even more of them compared to the time when Qin Wentian first came here. When the mine opened, it was also the day of harvest. 2 immortal emperors directly came here from the Jialan Monarch's Emperor Palace through a teleportation array. They were here to harvest the ores, and after they obtained the ores, they would directly use the teleportation array to teleport back to the Emperor Palace. There was no chance for Qin Wentian to take advantage of them. However, nothing was absolute. In a spacious area, those people who came out from the mine were all gathered here, handing over their interspatial rings to be counted. Qin Wentian and Yang Yunar were also among the crowd. With two immortal emperors here and immortal kings in charge of counting, who would dare to act recklessly? These two immortal emperors weren't among the immortal emperors Qin Wentian met back then. From this, one could see that there were many immortal emperors in the Jialan monarch's emperor palace. The power of a monarch in the azure mystic immortal realms would definitely be a peak power. There was no need to doubt this. Qin Wentian stared at the experts handing over their interspatial rings as he felt a little heartache. 90% of them didn't belong to him. Although this mine was just an ordinary one, they still couldn't afford to lose it. Hence, there were 3 teleportation arrays connected to the Jialan Emperor Palace and they could be activated at any time. In addition, these 3 teleportation arrays were all guarded by experts. This was especially so for the day of harvest. The guards were all peak-stage immortal kings from the Jialan Emperor Palace and were definitely trusted aides of the Jialan monarch. At this moment, in front of one of the teleportation arrays, there were 2 peak-stage immortal kings guarding it. They seemed to be resting but their immortal senses were scanning the surroundings, observing the movements in the surroundings. At this moment, the immortal senses of these 2 peak-stage immortal kings seemed to have sensed something. Instantly, their immortal senses gushed over and after that, they saw an incomparably gigantic beast. At that time, it was a lion. Its eyes were demonic and terrifying, glowing with green light. This lion seemed to be taking light steps, coming from afar, directly walking into their minds. Their consciousnesses struggled frantically, as if they wanted to resist something. However, in the next moment, their eyes opened, also glowing with green light. That lion seemed to be guarding their minds, unable to be removed. The guards in front of the other 2 spatial formations had the same experience. Their eyes glowed with green light, and in their minds, they were guarding the same demonic lion. Destroy the formation. A voice rang out in their minds. Without any hesitation, they unleashed their most powerful attacks towards the teleportation portal, destroying it. In an instant, the sound of explosions rang out through the entire mountain range, causing the expression of the expert who was in the midst of checking the mines to drastically change. The faces of the 2 immortal emperors also changed, instantly turning pale. Generally speaking, no one dared to touch the mineral veins, but once someone did, they knew better than anyone else what it meant. It meant that they would die. Bandits who dared to rob the mines on the opening day, there was no need to doubt them. They were definitely great bandits. Hence, one of the immortal emperors directly took out his messaging crystal and sent a strand of immortal sense in, "Monarch, there are bandits attacking. The teleportation array has been destroyed." As the sound of his voice faded, a stifling pressure bore down from the sky. A group of experts descended from the sky and without exception, all of them were existences at the immortal king realm or above. In addition, all of them exuded the sharpness of someone who had experienced hundreds of battles. In the supreme ancient immortal realms, bandits were even more terrifying and dangerous compared to the ordinary armies of monarchs. Even if they were at the same level, they were all fugitives who wandered the line between life and death. If they were the slightest bit careless, they would die. In the immortal realms, there were very few bandits because it was too dangerous. If they plundered the treasures of a world overlord, they would be listed as wanted criminals. Although ordinary minds wouldn't alarm the world overlords, their subordinates had to take responsibility. Given how vast a world was, what sort of status did the world overlord have? It was impossible for them to personally attend to everything. If not, why would they have so many subordinates? But if he didn't act, there were 9 world palace lords below him and there were monarchs below them. Bandits would face boundless pursuit until they died. Hence, the death rate of bandits was extremely high. Very few people would choose to become bandits, but those who dared to become bandits were all extremely ruthless people. Qin Wentian still didn't understand what was going on. Yang Yun'er, who was at the side, instantly turned pale. She subconsciously pulled Qin Wentian, "Bandits. Bandits." Qin Wentian's eyes narrowed. When he just entered the supreme ancient immortal realms and arrived at the Wind Thunder City, Jialan Mingyue already slandered him as a bandit and wanted to use this reason to deal with them. But who would have thought that the first time he came out from the mines, he would actually encounter true bandits? What made him shocked was that these bandits seemed more like an army compared to the subordinates of the monarchs. Without exception, all of them were clad in armor, from head to toe. All of them were equipped with different types of divine armors that covered their entire bodies. Being a bandit was a matter of life and death. Who would be willing to reveal their identities so easily? For some cautious bandits, they would wash their hands of the bandits after they made a fortune and directly sneak into the city. Others wouldn't even know that they were bandits. In the air, a terrifying gigantic beast descended. This was a fearsome demonic lion. Its eyes gleamed with a jade-green light, exuding an extremely demonic aura. Evil Emperor. The two immortal emperors turned even paler. As immortal emperors, even they felt fear in their hearts. That's right, the evil emperor referred to this lion. It had a pair of terrifying evil eyes, it was a supremely powerful demon emperor. Naturally, this demon emperor wasn't the leader of the bandits. The evil emperor was the mount of the Knight Empyrean who once dominated an entire region. The Knight Empyrean was a legendary bandit in the entire lifelong realm. His strength was terrifying to the extreme and he plundered many mines, including an extremely valuable one. This matter even alarmed the Realm Lord. Two of the World Palace Lords joined forces and laid down a heavenly net, capturing the Knight Empyrean in one fell swoop. Finally, the Knight Empyrean was killed on the spot. This was something that happened many years ago. But today, after so many years, the mount of the Knight Empyrean, the evil emperor, actually appeared in the territory of the Jialan Monarch. Was this a revival from the ashes? Wait, although these bandits were very powerful, they weren't the same as the Knight Empyrean subordinates back then. The Knight Empyrean subordinates were all captured in one fell swoop. If the Knight Empyrean was still around, how could he possibly rob such an ordinary mine? The two immortal emperors felt a chill in their hearts. They naturally didn't forget that legendary bandit. Back then, one of the two palace lords who participated in the hunt for the Knight Empyrean was none other than the Lifeire Empyrean. The 9 monarchs under the Lifeire Empyrean had all participated in that battle back then. Who are you? An immortal emperor stared at a slender figure standing on the back of the evil emperor. That figure was also fully armored, clad in silver armor. Only a pair of resplendent eyes could be seen, as well as that slender figure. No one replied. The entire space was so quiet that it was terrifying. Those experts in the air started to descend. In an instant, a stifling pressure bore down on them, causing countless people to tremble. What should we do? Yang Yun'er stared at Qin Wentian. She didn't expect that she would be able to survive in the mine. However, just now, a glimmer of hope appeared in her heart. Was she going to despair again now? At this moment, Qin Wentian's expression was extremely unsightly to behold. There were several immortal emperors in the air and that lion was even more terrifying. It wasn't something he could contend against. The two immortal emperors guarding this place all had looks of terror on their faces. Everyone, kill them. No one is allowed to flee. If not, when the monarchs descend, they will be killed without mercy. An immortal emperor commanded. The expressions of everyone turned even paler. Did they not see them as humans? With such a lineup, how could they fight against them? Were they courting death? None of you are allowed to move. If not, we will kill without mercy. A cold voice rang out from the air. After that, several experts directly rushed towards the two immortal emperors. Flee! At this moment, the crowd couldn't care so much anymore. Flee! If they remained here, they didn't know what their fates would be. If they fled, although they would still die, it was still a chance of survival. Chapter 1544. The battle instantly erupted. Chaotic law domains engulfed this entire space. One of them cursed, "I told you guys not to move recklessly, but you guys still want to flee? You guys don't even know a path to survival." After speaking, he blasted out with a punch, directly killing a group of fleeing experts. The entire space was in chaos. Although these bandits had the absolute advantage in terms of strength, they weren't that many in number. In fact, they didn't even have as many people as the guards. Let alone the fact that there were also many miners. Upon seeing the battle between the guards and the bandits, how could the miners not flee? Qin Wentian glanced at the battlefield and instantly understood that this was a one-sided battle. These guards weren't a match for the bandits at all. Those two immortal emperors were even more terrifying. They directly soared up into the air and fought, suppressing their opponents with absolute superiority. "You guys told us to fight, but you chose to flee instead. Bastard!" Someone cursed. So it turned out that the two immortal emperors knew they couldn't win against the bandits and actually chose to flee. However, the two immortal emperors chasing after them were much stronger. How could they allow them to flee? What made people feel even more despair was that the terrifying lion as well as the slender figure standing on the lion's back didn't move at all. Upon seeing the two immortal emperors fleeing, the figure on the lion's back slowly floated up. After that, the lion rushed towards the immortal emperors who were fighting far away. Its terrifying evil eyes directly pierced into their minds. The two immortal emperors under the Jialan Monarch all let out howls of grief. Astral light from the sky rained down unceasingly, but it was unable to change their fate of death. So these are bandits. Qin Wentian stared at the slaughter in this space. These bandits even dared to kill the immortal emperors under the Jialan Monarch. Not only were these people subordinates of the Jialan Monarch, they were also subordinates of the Lifire Empyrean. This was the first time he encountered bandits, and they were actually so powerful. Qin Wentian silently cursed his bad luck. He was harmed so badly by that woman Jialan Mingyue, sending him to this mine of all places. "Let's leave." Qin Wentian spoke softly to Yang Yun'er as they silently retreated in a certain direction. "Qin Wentian, you can't escape with me. Go by yourself." Yang Yun'er transmitted her voice. Although she was in despair, she didn't want to implicate Qin Wentian. If she hadn't met Qin Wentian in the mine, she might have already died. "How would we know if we don't try?" Qin Wentian didn't say much. He forcefully pulled her up into the air. The door of space flashed, and he stepped into it, traversing the void. Someone noticed Qin Wentian's situation and glanced at his cultivation base. After that, two peak-stage immortal kings soared through the air with lightning speed. One of them was also proficient in spatial energy and directly chased after Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian wanted to use the door of space to traverse the void again. However, he only saw his opponent grabbing out with his palm, causing the spatial law here to be in chaos. Qin Wentian had no way to traverse the void. The other peak-stage immortal king also appeared. He soared through the air as an incomparably terrifying pressure bore down on Qin Wentian and Yang Yun'er. Yang Yun'er directly coughed out a mouthful of blood as her countenance turned pale. "Sir, we are just miners. If you want immortal stones, we can give them to you." Qin Wentian took out his interspatial ring. He didn't care about these two, but there were still immortal emperors over there. In fact, even the leader hasn't acted yet. How would he be so impulsive as to kill them? That would only be courting death. "Humph," that immortal king snorted coldly. He stomped through the air again. Yang Yun'er groaned in misery as she coughed out more blood. Qin Wentian's law energy enveloped her. His eyes turned extremely cold as he stared up at the sky. "I'm willing to give up my interspatial ring. Don't be too ruthless." Qin Wentian placed the interspatial ring in the air. As long as the other party nodded, he would give it to them. He could obtain more immortal stones, but he only had a single life. He didn't want to die again. Let alone the fact that he only managed to survive back then, it was pure luck. We have already missed our chance. We want the item, we want your life as well. That immortal king ruthlessly stomped down as a supreme pressure bore down on Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian could clearly feel a formless pressure boring into him. If he was really an ordinary mid-stage immortal king, he would have died in a single strike. Why do you have to force me? Qin Wentian's eyes abruptly flashed with a cold killing intent. In an instant, his eyes turned extremely demonic. The expression of that peak-stage immortal king in the air changed. After that, he saw a dimension created by an eye technique, and in an instant, he felt as though he was trapped within a pair of eyes, trapped within an illusion. Die! A cold voice rang out. That immortal king only saw a pure and flawless sword of light descending from the sky. His entire body trembled as a look of terror appeared on his face. However, it was already too late. The sword intent pierced through him. Qin Wentian stepped out and grabbed him by the neck as he icily spoke, "Since you are courting death, I will grant it to you." As the sound of his voice faded, a terrifying light flashed. That immortal king screamed in agony as his body was slowly disintegrated into nothingness. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. It was too fast, so fast that the immortal king who was proficient in spatial energy didn't even have time to react before he discovered that his companion had already been killed. His law energy gushed forth as spatial swords shot out. However, he only saw that Qin Wentian was hugging another immortal king as a spatial shield appeared before him, blocking all the attacks. After that, that immortal king was also trapped within the eye technique dimension, unable to extricate himself. Die! Once Qin Wentian acted, how would he show any mercy? In the blink of an eye, yet another peak-stage immortal king died. MHM. The immortal kings from afar saw this scene. That immortal king's eyes gleamed as he turned to Qin Wentian. After that, he stepped out and instantly, a group of immortal kings moved towards Qin Wentian. Immortal emperors, 2 immortal emperors. Qin Wentian's expression turned ashen. He once again used the power of the spatial gate to traverse through space. However, he only saw the immortal emperor stretching out his hand and grabbing at the air. A formless energy directly severed the spatial law energy, causing the spatial gate before Qin Wentian to vanish. Several peak-stage immortal kings and an immortal emperor stood before Qin Wentian and Yang Yun'er. "Yun'er, seems like I won't be able to protect you." Qin Wentian spoke to Yang Yun'er who was beside him. Yang Yun'er's eyes instantly turned red. She stared at the immortal king. "Senior, we were only forced to come here to mine. Why must you kill us? I only gave the order to kill the others, I didn't give the order to kill the miners. You guys were the ones who wanted to escape." That immortal king spoke. What made Qin Wentian bewildered was that this voice was clear and melodious. It was the voice of a female. The leader of this group of bandits was actually a female immortal emperor. "And now, you killed my people." The female immortal emperor stared at Qin Wentian, her eyes gleaming with a bright light. As the sound of her voice faded, an immortal emperor walked out from the side. In an instant, a beam of light cascaded down from the sky, landing on him. The constellations in the area shone brilliantly as emperor light flashed. "If I die in battle, I hope that senior can spare her life." Qin Wentian pushed Yang Yun'er away as he soared into the air, facing an immortal emperor alone. Qin Wentian. Yang Yun'er's eyes turned red. Those bandits all had strange looks on their faces. This fellow was only a mid-stage immortal king and he still wanted to challenge an immortal emperor. Overestimating his own capabilities. That immortal emperor was bathed in emperor light, causing the entire space to tremble. He clenched his fist as a powerful palm imprint manifested, containing a fearsome might as it shot towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian lifted his fist and punched out. With a thunderous boom, the palm imprint was actually shattered by Qin Wentian, causing the eyes of everyone to narrow. At the Immortal Emperor realm, even a casual attack was sufficient to destroy a peak-stage Immortal King. But right now, a mid-stage Immortal King actually dared to clash head-on with an Immortal Emperor? Ha ha ha. That Immortal Emperor laughed uproariously. A five-fingered palm imprint appeared behind him as astral light cascaded down from the sky. That palm imprint transformed into a gigantic mountain that blotted out the sky. With a flick of his finger, boundless radiance enveloped the area. To Immortal Kings, this was akin to doomsday. But at this moment, Qin Wentian's body radiated an incomparably holy light. It was actually a boundless Buddha light. At this moment, he resembled a world-shaking ancient Buddha. The power of light circulated around him, making him look even more holy and majestic. A gigantic Buddha appeared behind him, with a myriad of arms, resembling a 1,000-armed Buddha. The light of Buddha illuminated the world, and it also contained the might of great light. It was like the great light 1,000-armed Buddha. Countless arms blasted out at the same time, blasting towards the five-fingered palm. The airflow between the two became incomparably violent and terrifying, and all the attacks were shattered. The female Immortal Emperor's exposed eyes gleamed with a bright light. The Immortal Emperor in front of her was blocked by a mid-stage Immortal King consecutively. Flames of rage erupted from him as a fearsome might erupted forth. In an instant, the entire area was illuminated by the light of emperors. Behind Qin Wentian, a pair of terrifying eyes appeared. His eyes also turned extremely bizarre. With a single glance, the Immortal Emperor in front of him felt as though he was in a dimension created by an eye technique. That's enough. A gentle voice rang out, causing Qin Wentian, who wanted to take the initiative, to attack to start. He instantly retracted his attack, causing him to start as well. He inclined his head and stared at the female Immortal Emperor. In the future, you will follow me. The female Immortal Emperor's exposed eyes had a radiant smile on her face as she spoke to Qin Wentian. Upon seeing the light in her eyes, Qin Wentian had a strange look on his face. Follow her? Was he really going to become a bandit? However, under such a situation, could he reject? That would simply be courting death. Fine, senior, can you spare my friend? Qin Wentian pointed to Yang Yun'er. Just a little lass. That Immortal Emperor clearly didn't care about Yang Yun'er. He directly turned and left. That Immortal Emperor who was fighting against Qin Wentian coldly glanced at him, as though he was unhappy. However, he didn't say anything and followed after the Immortal Emperor. The other experts all cast a deep glance at Qin Wentian. This fellow actually managed to gain her favor. Chapter 1545. Who? Qin Wentian heaved a sigh of relief. How dangerous. If this female Immortal Emperor really wanted to kill him, it would have been truly dangerous. Although his 7 astral souls in addition to the undying scripture could be considered an undying monster, if the disparity between them was too great, it would still be dangerous. If his opponent really destroyed his soul, would he still be able to revive? Yang Yun'er's beautiful eyes landed on Qin Wentian. She didn't expect that she would actually be able to survive. Yun'er, take care. Qin Wentian transmitted his voice to Yang Yun'er. Yang Yun'er nodded as her eyes turned red. The two of them were strangers that met by chance and their friendship couldn't be said to be very deep. However, Qin Wentian had already done enough for her. Qin Wentian stepped out and followed after those people. From afar, that terrifying green-eyed gigantic beast had already returned. Its huge eyes glanced at Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to feel his soul trembling. He didn't dare to be careless in his heart. This gigantic beast was definitely a supremely powerful demon emperor that he couldn't afford to antagonize. Earlier, from that glance, he understood that the green-eyed beast was also a demon emperor that was proficient in soul techniques. Inclining his head, the two monarchs under the Jialan monarch had already died. His guards were all killed as well as those who resisted. Their fates were all extremely miserable. A bunch of fools. We gave them a chance to live, but they are all courting death. A person cursed in a depressed manner. Below, there were people sweeping the battlefield, collecting all the immortal stones in the mines. What should we do with these people? Beside the female immortal emperor, an expert asked. As he spoke, he didn't forget to glance at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian's eyes narrowed, he instantly understood the intentions of the other party. These people were all armed to the teeth and none of them had revealed their true identities. If they brought Qin Wentian away, it would undoubtedly leave a hole in their disguise. In that case, they would have to consider silencing all of them. The female immortal emperor turned her gaze to Qin Wentian only to hear Qin Wentian speaking, "I'm proficient in illusions and can change my appearance. Let's go." The female immortal emperor calmly spoke, her voice filled with a hint of laziness. The experts all climbed onto the back of the gigantic lion. Qin Wentian also followed them. The gigantic lion soared up into the air and soared through the clouds with shocking speed. What a terrifying army! Qin Wentian sighed in his heart. This was the first time he met a bandit, but it had subverted his conjecture about bandits. Moreover, he himself would become a bandit. This was really a matter that made him speechless. The clouds churned, no one spoke. Only the whistling sound of the wind could be heard from behind. The speed of the gigantic beast was much faster than sound. After a long time, Qin Wentian discovered that there were more and more people getting down from the back of the gigantic beast, each of them leaving alone. Very swiftly, other than the female immortal emperor, there was another immortal emperor, 3 peak stage immortal kings, and Qin Wentian. We're almost there. That immortal emperor reminded the female immortal emperor who had her eyes closed. The female immortal emperor calmly replied. After that, the armors on their bodies were all removed, revealing their original appearances. The female immortal emperor turned her head and glanced at Qin Wentian. She then turned back and smiled, exuding an innate charm. Just a single smile was enough to cause one's entire body to go soft. Phoenix eyes, willow leaf brows, a flawlessly exquisite face, as well as skin that seemed as though it could be broken by the wind. This bandit leader's countenance didn't lose out in the slightest when compared to the supreme beauty of the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom, Princess Kitamura. It was just that their auras were completely different. Princess Kitamura's aura was cold, but this female immortal emperor gave off an incomparably gentle and charming aura. She sat there, her jade-like legs were slightly bent, revealing her snow-white thighs, extremely sexy. Her body was like a water snake, able to mesmerize people with a single glance. For ordinary characters, they would instantly fall into her charms. What was even more unbearable was that after removing her armor, she was actually only wearing a thin red dress. The dress further accentuated her flawless features and snow-white skin. From Qin Wentian's angle, he could even see the snow-white skin below her neck. How alluring was that? Humph! The immortal emperor at the side snorted coldly when he saw Qin Wentian's appearance. He then spoke with disdain, "Palace Lord favors him. Seems like he's merely of this level." Qin Wentian was awakened by that cold snort. He could sense that he had lost his composure and couldn't help but feel embarrassed. He hurriedly shifted his gaze away, not daring to stare. This female immortal emperor wasn't merely a beauty, she was also a powerful immortal emperor, the leader of the bandits. It would be extremely easy for her to kill him if she wanted to. However, he was still shocked in his heart. He didn't expect that the female leader of the bandits would actually be such a seductive beauty. She was so beautiful to such an extent that even he couldn't help but lose his composure. Right now, his state of heart was extraordinary and he had seen many beauties. One could very well imagine how strong the temptation of this immortal emperor was. Palace Lord. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed when he heard this title. Impossible, How could a world palace lord of the 9 world palaces seize such a mine? It should be some other world palace lord. Palace lord, it should only be a title. Before our palace lord, who would be able to resist the temptation? Although this brat's combat prowess isn't bad, after seeing the true appearance of our palace lord, The immortal king at the back laughed. What's your name? The female smiled. Every frown and every smile of hers was enough to stir the souls of people, causing them to unknowingly fall into her charms. Qin Wentian. You can address me like the others in the future. The female surveyed Qin Wentian, her beautiful eyes flashing with interest. Your face is truly handsome, and your demeanor is extraordinary. It should be related to the law attribute energy you cultivate in, right? I'm a little reluctant to ask you to change your appearance. Palace Lord praises me too much. Qin Wentian was indeed more handsome compared to before. He also felt that this might have something to do with his astral souls. Astral souls from the 8th heavenly layer, Buddha astral souls and the radiant astral soul were all able to change one's demeanor. When he unleashed these laws in combat, the effect was even more obvious. An intense illusory energy gushed forth from Qin Wentian. In an instant, the lines on his face changed as his entire demeanor changed. Very swiftly, he became a completely different person. What a powerful law attribute astral soul. The female immortal emperor smiled as she glanced at Qin Wentian. After that, she turned her gaze to the gigantic beast below. Little lion, it's enough. That gigantic beast instantly shrank. In just an instant, it became a demonic beast that was even smaller than an ordinary lion. How could there still be any demonic qi radiating from it? It leapt into the embrace of the female immortal emperor, completely transforming into a pet lion. The female immortal emperor waved her hand. A moment later, a divine sedan appeared. She directly stepped into it and lay down on the soft seat inside. An immortal emperor and 3 peak stage immortal kings directly became the bearers, lifting the sedan as they moved forward. This. Qin Wentian was dumbfounded, silently sighing at how terrifying these bandits were. In the blink of an eye, they had completely changed their appearance. He initially thought that these bandits were a power that was hiding in the vast wilderness and were fleeing in all directions. Who would have thought that after they took off their armor, they wouldn't need to worry about being seen by others? Why are you in a daze? Come on in. A lazy voice drifted out from the sedan. Qin Wentian was startled. He glanced inside and replied, Junior doesn't dare to. Palace Lord, why don't we get him to carry the sedan? The immortal emperor in front smiled. The female immortal emperor smiled at him. That immortal emperor's expression instantly turned ugly as he coldly glared at Qin Wentian. This immortal emperor was none other than the one who fought against Qin Wentian earlier. Do you think this mistress will eat you up? A gentle voice rang out. Qin Wentian braced his scalp and stepped through the curtains. Upon seeing that supreme beauty lazily lying there, Qin Wentian averted his eyes, not daring to look at her. This scene was too beautiful. Am I beautiful? The female immortal emperor smiled, her charm seeping into his bones. Qin Wentian nodded, Palace Lord is indeed beautiful. Sit here. The female immortal emperor stretched out her fair legs and tapped on a spot beside Qin Wentian's calf. Qin Wentian nodded and sat there. As long as he turned his head, he would be able to see those beautiful legs that could cause his blood to boil. The laws you are proficient in are Buddha, space, illusion, sword and light. Also, the laws of each of these laws far surpass those at the same level as you. For someone like you, why would you appear in this mine? Not only that, you are even a minor. The female immortal emperor casually asked. Qin Wentian's heart tightened, she still didn't completely believe him. I've offended the Jelon monarch. Qin Wentian replied. Oh. Tell me about it. The female immortal emperor smiled. This matter has to start from the time when I left the mountain with my senior sister. Qin Wentian fabricated an excuse. In any case, the Jialan monarch was attracted to his senior sister, Princess Kitamura, for her beauty and banished him to a minor. He believed that even if the Jialan monarch investigated this matter, the results would still be the same. Did you guys hear that? When we return, send someone to the Jialan Emperor city to investigate. The female immortal emperor casually smiled. The bearers outside nodded, but Qin Wentian felt a chill run down his spine. Being able to move the Jialan monarch's heart, that person must be a supreme beauty. How does your senior sister compare to me? The female immortal emperor smiled. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. After that, he replied, although Palace Lord is extremely rare in the mortal world, my senior sister is similarly devastatingly beautiful. There aren't many who can compare to her. MHM. The female started. After that, she started laughing. The four bearers outside all laughed as well. As they laughed, they soared through the air. Qin Wentian glanced over, he only saw a gigantic city that resembled a gigantic dragon hovering in the air. Palace Mistress, what place is this? Qin Wentian curiously asked. The most flourishing transaction city in the Lifire Palace, Heavenly City. The female stood up. The palanquin sped through the air. That majestic city grew larger and larger in Qin Wentian's field of vision. At a mine extremely far away from Heavenly City, the Jialan monarch led his experts here. When he saw the state of the mine, his expression turned so heavy that it was terrifying. 2 immortal emperors under him had died in battle here. Capture all of them alive for interrogation. The Jialan monarch coldly spoke. After that, an immortal emperor stepped out as his immortal sense swept through the area. Not far away from the Jialan monarch, a supreme beauty stood there. This was none other than Princess Kitamura. Right now, her aura was extremely cold as she walked towards Jialan Mingyue. What are you doing? Jialan Mingyue seemed to be a little afraid of Princess Kitamura. She hurriedly retreated. Pa! Princess Kitamura's palm slammed out, directly sending Jialan Mingyue flying through the air. Jialan Mingyue coughed out a mouthful of blood as her countenance turned pale. Chapter 1546. Mingyu steadied herself and stretched out her fair hand to wipe off the blood at the corner of her mouth. Her gaze was extremely cold as she stared at Princess Kitamura. Slut, you dare to hit me? Jialan Mingyue's voice was extremely cold. When has she ever suffered such humiliation before? Princess Kitamura stepped out as a terrifying cold underworld energy gushed forth, freezing all life. In an instant, Jialan Mingyue's entire body was covered in frost as she felt the threat of death looming over her. Yu Huang, stop! The Jialan monarch walked over. His palm landed on Jialan Mingyue's body, expelling the frost energy. He stared at Princess Kitamura. Yu Huang, what are you doing? Minors are usually criminals or even slaves. You actually allowed Qin Wentian to do the mining? Princess Kitamura's eyes were cold to the extreme as she stared at Jialan Mingyue. You want to kill me? Jialan Mingyue could sense the killing intent from Princess Kitamura. Her eyes flashed with a blood-red light. Yu Huang, there are still many survivors. Maybe, he's fine. The Jialan monarch spoke. Princess Kitamura stared at the Jialan monarch as she coldly spoke. Although I'm an attendant of your emperor palace, I'm personally appointed by the Lifire Empyrean. You can appoint your daughter to be the city lord, but your daughter actually dared to make my junior apprentice brother mine. Right now, it's unknown whether he is dead or alive. Jialan monarch, if something happens to Qin Wentian, I will definitely make Jialan Mingyue accompany him in death. Father, did you hear that? This bitch wants to kill me in front of you. Are you going to abandon your daughter for the sake of beauty? Jialan Mingyue let out a low-sounding roar, her eyes were bloodshot. She was pampered since young, and in the Jelon monarch's territory, no matter where she went, she would be extremely imposing. Today, she was sent flying by Princess Kitamura, humiliated and threatened to kill her. Speak less. The Jelon monarch's face sank. Father, it's been so many years, could it be that you still haven't played with her? Or perhaps he had played with her feelings and no longer cared about his daughter. Does she want to kill me? Jelon Mingyue had always been doted on and would often act coquettishly in the past. But now, when someone wanted to kill her, her father actually told her to speak less. Shut up. The Jelon monarch roared. A terrifying might gushed forth from him. Jelon Mingyue was so frightened that her countenance turned pale. She stared at her father in a daze. Jelon Mingyue, remember the words you said today. Jelon monarch, you better discipline your daughter well. Princess Kitamura coldly spoke. After that, her silhouette flickered as she directly soared through the air, leaving to search for traces of Qin Wentian. The Jelon monarch had a sinister look on his face as he coldly stared at Jelon Mingyue. He transmitted his voice, "It's fine if I dote on you normally. But now, you are always acting out of line. Do you think I don't know how lawless you are in Wind Thunder City? Now, Princess Kitamura is the palace master's favorite, and she is being nurtured by the palace master. You dare to humiliate her like this? Are you looking for death?" Jelon Mingyue started when she heard her father's voice transmission. She then spoke, "You are a monarch under the Lifefire Empyrean. Are you still afraid of her?" In addition, father sighed. "What do you know? I'm naturally not afraid of her. But what about you? You basically don't know anything." The Jelon monarch coldly spoke. "After we return, give up your position as the city lord and go to the Emperor City. Let your mother discipline you well." After speaking, the Jelon monarch flicked his sleeves and walked towards the people he captured. His expression was heavy. Back then, he lusted after Princess Kitamura's beauty and brought her to the Lifefire Palace. But what happened next was something he didn't expect. The Lifefire Empyrean actually had the intention to nurture Princess Kitamura. After that, the Lifefire Empyrean arranged for Princess Kitamura to stay by his side. On the surface, it was to serve him, but in truth, it was to monitor him. This caused him to feel very uncomfortable. Right now, Princess Kitamura could be considered to be someone on the Lifefire Empyrean's side. He didn't dare to do anything to Princess Kitamura. "Monarch, these are all minors. According to what they said, our people were all killed. Those who survived are all minors." The interrogators bowed when they saw the Jelon monarch walking over with a heavy expression. "Ask them if they know of a man named Qin Wentian." The Jelon monarch coldly spoke. Yes. More and more people were captured and interrogated. However, they basically couldn't obtain too much information about the bandits. They only knew that the bandits were fully armed and none of them revealed their true appearances. Other than this, there was also a terrifying demon emperor lion. The Jelon monarch already knew about this. That lion was none other than the evil emperor, the mount of the legendary Knight Empyrean. Finally, news about Qin Wentian was obtained. But the strange thing was that the Qin Wentian they spoke of was actually an immortal king expert. His combat prowess was extremely high and he was brought away by the bandits. After Princess Kitamura learned of this, her heart trembled as she heaved a sigh of relief. Immortal king, seems like there's no mistake about it. Qin Wentian must have cultivated back to the immortal king realm. Who would have thought that this fellow's life would be so tough? Even the leader of the bandits took a liking to him. She could only hope that nothing would happen to him. After Jelon Mingyue learned of this, she immediately claimed that Qin Wentian was a traitor who betrayed the bandits. However, Princess Kitamura couldn't be bothered with her. She would settle this debt in the future. Heavenly City was located in the Lifefire Palace's territory. It was built in the boundless mountain range and was a supremely powerful city. This city had a long history. The female bandit leader didn't lie to Qin Wentian. Heavenly City was indeed the most flourishing trading city in the Lifire Palace's territory. Over here, a large number of treasures would be traded daily. There were many extremely powerful powers stationed in this city, and immortal kings could be seen everywhere. In fact, if one walked on the streets, there was a high possibility that the people they saw were immortal emperors. This was the foundation of the supreme ancient immortal realms. The Thousand Feathers Palace was one of the major powers in Heavenly City. They were extremely powerful and had several immortal emperors as their subordinates. Their main business was the trading of divine weapons, innate techniques, and all sorts of treasures. They were quite famous in Heavenly City. Naturally, the most famous thing about the Thousand Feathers Palace wasn't the trading of treasures. It was because of the palace mistress of the Thousand Feathers Palace. Because, the palace mistress of the Thousand Feathers Palace was known as the #1 beauty of Heavenly City. The vast and majestic Heavenly City was filled with beauties. The palace mistress of the Thousand Feathers Palace, Fairy Thousand Feathers, might not be the most outstanding in terms of beauty. But with her beauty, in addition to her powerful cultivation base, as well as her charismatic demeanor, she could easily cause people to fall for her charms. No one dared to doubt her title as the #1 beauty of Heavenly City. In Heavenly City, many people would long for a chance to see Fairy Thousand Feathers. Hence, the transactions in the Thousand Feathers Palace were extremely lively. Many people wanted to come here to see the #1 beauty of Heavenly City. However, what made people in Heavenly City not to think was that right now, there was one person who was extremely afraid to see Fairy Thousand Feathers. For example, at this moment, in an elegant room, Fairy Thousand Feathers sat on a soft chair. Her beautiful legs were propped up on the armrest. She who was clad in a long white dress exuded a sense of purity and charm. This was especially so when the dress slid down to her thighs, it was simply unbearable. "Do I look so ugly?" Yi Qianyu stared at Qin Wentian with a gentle smile. However, Qin Wentian didn't even dare to look at her. Palace mistress is extremely beautiful, this subordinate doesn't dare to profane you. Qin Wentian lowered his head. "Oh. Have your eyes ever profaned me before?" Yi Qianyu giggled, staring at Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to shiver. "Don't worry, men aren't all like this. If you want to look, just look. There's no need to be so hesitant." Yi Qianyu's voice was incomparably gentle. Qin Wentian inclined his head, only to see that alluring figure of hers. "The news has arrived. You can be considered to be honest and didn't lie. I've also found out about the person you asked me to help you investigate." Yi Qianyu spoke. "How is she?" Qin Wentian inclined his head and stared at Yi Qianyu as he asked. The person he asked to investigate was naturally Princess Kitamura. Although back then he already knew that the Jialan monarch wouldn't dare to touch Princess Kitamura, it has been so many years since they last met. He couldn't help but feel worried. Yi Qianyu had a smile that was not a smile on her face as she stared at Qin Wentian. "Why are you so nervous?" "Palace mistress, I have a deep relationship with my senior sister. I'm naturally nervous." Qin Wentian replied. "Seems like this palace's charm isn't that great. I can't even compare to that woman from afar. I heard that she's a cold beauty." Yi Qianyu laughed. "Don't worry, she's fine. The Lifire Empyrean regards her highly and placed her by the Jialan monarch's side." "Many thanks, palace mistress." Qin Wentian heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. "Can you let me see your astral souls now?" Yi Qianyu smiled charmingly. Qin Wentian felt somewhat awkward. This female vixen seemed to be extremely curious about his astral souls. She had already requested to see his astral souls many times. It was just that his astral souls were truly a little unique. He didn't know what her attitude would be after he revealed them. Seeing that Qin Wentian didn't say anything, Yi Qianyu slowly stood up and walked out. Her sexy dress fluttered in the wind as her long hair casually draped over her shoulders. Every frown and smile of hers could move the hearts of those who saw it. Yi Qianyu walked to the side of Qin Wentian as a fragrance wafted over. She was slightly shorter than Qin Wentian and had a slender figure with perfect proportions. Qin Wentian didn't dare to look her in the eye. He lowered his head, and after that, he saw a scene that caused his blood to surge. He was so frightened that he instantly turned away. That snow-white scene was simply soul-stirring. Hee hee. Yi Qianyu laughed. What did you see? Palace mistress, please spare me. Qin Wentian begged. Spare you? This mistress has never been so gentle to others before. You have seen what you can see, and you have also seen what you shouldn't have seen. Tell me, what should I do? Yi Qianyu laughed. Qin Wentian was on the verge of tears. He knew that he wouldn't be able to escape this time around. Palace mistress, please help Junior keep this a secret. Right. Yi Qianyu nodded, smiling at Qin Wentian. Only to see Qin Wentian turning around and facing her. After that, he released his astral souls one after another. Very swiftly, 7 astral souls were released at the same time. In an instant, the entire room was enveloped by a boundless radiance so bright that it was blinding to the eyes. Yi Qianyu initially thought that she had already made her preparations. Upon seeing the resplendent screen of light, she involuntarily took a step back as a dumbfounded expression appeared on her face. But very swiftly, that incomparably charming smile appeared on her face again as her beautiful eyes blinked at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled as he retracted his astral souls. He waited for Yi Qianyu to question him, only to see Yi Qianyu casually smiling. All right, you can leave now. Since your identity has already been investigated, you can move about freely in Heavenly City in the future. Yi Qianyu didn't say anything. Qin Wentian started. He stared at her in bewilderment before nodding. Qin Wentian bids his farewell. After speaking, he turned and left. If you have time, come and chat with me. But don't ever think of running away. If not, this mistress will be very sad. Yi Qianyu giggled. Qin Wentian was so frightened that he quickened his steps and fled. Yi Qianyu laughed so hard that her body trembled. Chapter 1547. For the next period of time, Qin Wentian would often roam around Heavenly City after changing his appearance, feeling the charm of this majestic city. This majestic city was incomparably flourishing, with experts as common as the clouds. There were also countless treasures within. In this place, as long as you have enough immortal stones, there was no treasure you couldn't exchange for. Qin Wentian purchased a messaging crystal. This treasure was extremely useful and could be used to seal immortal sense within. For example, if Qin Wentian wanted to contact Princess Kitamura, he only needed to seal a strand of Princess Kitamura's immortal sense into Qin Wentian's messaging crystal. When Qin Wentian wanted to speak to her, he only needed to send his own immortal sense into the crystal to communicate with Princess Kitamura. However, because the materials required to forge them weren't simple, the price was very high. Qin Wentian plundered the mines and initially thought that he was already very rich. But after roaming around Heavenly City for a few days, he discovered that he was truly pitifully poor. There were many treasures that he didn't even dare to hope for. For example, some supremely powerful Emperor-ranked weapons. Each of these weapons required a large amount of Emperor-ranked immortal stones as the base material, in addition to many other precious materials. In addition, there were also grandmasters forging them. From this, one could very well imagine how expensive they were. In addition, the Emperor-ranked weapons of the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms were much more superior compared to the divine weapons of the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. Even if your cultivation base wasn't high enough, you would still be able to unleash the full power of the weapons. Hence, those from the major clans and clans of the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms would have an innate advantage. The stronger a world was, the more terrifying the disparity between the upper and lower levels would be. Naturally, among the unaffiliated cultivators, bandits were also very wealthy. Even if they robbed an ordinary mine, they would still be able to reap bountiful rewards. It was just that they were playing with their lives. Although the Thousand Feathers Palace mistress appeared carefree, once people discovered that she was a bandit, she would face endless pursuit. During these days, some of the core members of the Thousand Feathers Palace received orders from the Palace Lord to collect Light Attribute and Life Attribute Emperor Stones. Moreover, they had to be high-grade Emperor Stones. The Palace Lord personally gave the order to collect Emperor Stones in large quantities. Although everyone was puzzled, they still did as they were told. With regards to this point, Qin Wentian didn't know. However, the Barbarian Emperor knew. Hence, he sought out Qin Wentian. "Senior, what can I do for you?" Qin Wentian stared at the Barbarian Emperor as he asked. This Barbarian Emperor was none other than the Immortal Emperor he fought against back then when they were seizing the mine. "Come, let's go to the battle formation. You and I will fight." The Barbarian Emperor coldly spoke. Qin Wentian could see the coldness in the Barbarian Emperor's eyes. He didn't know when he had offended the Barbarian Emperor. In any case, ever since he came to the Thousand Feathers Palace, this Barbarian Emperor seemed to be extremely unhappy with him. Every time they met, he would treat him coldly. "Senior is an immortal emperor. I know I'm inferior." Qin Wentian rejected. What a joke! No matter if he could defeat the Barbarian Emperor or not, this place was the Thousand Feathers Palace. No matter what, the Barbarian Emperor was a doyen of the Thousand Feathers Palace, a trusted aide of that demoness. There was no benefits for him to offend the Barbarian Emperor. Since he was living under the Barbarian Emperor's roof, he had to keep a low profile. The battle back then didn't determine the victor. Your combat prowess is so strong that even the Palace Lord regards you highly. How can you be a coward? The Barbarian Emperor berated. Leave with me. Junior is only a mid-stage immortal king. Senior, why must you make things difficult for me? Qin Wentian frowned, feeling somewhat unhappy in his heart. What cowardice! You, an immortal emperor, came here to challenge him, a mid-stage immortal king, and you still dare to speak in such a righteous manner? However, Qin Wentian couldn't be bothered to say more. He would avoid it if he could. Today, you have no choice but to fight. The Barbarian Emperor coldly snorted. He stomped down, causing a crisp cracking sound to ring out. Cracks appeared on the ground. Although the ground was made from special materials, it still couldn't withstand the force of an immortal emperor's stomp. Senior, why must you be so overbearing? Qin Wentian's voice was filled with unhappiness. I'm forcing you. The Barbarian Emperor stepped out once more as a heavy rumbling sound rang out. The room Qin Wentian was staying in directly collapsed. The tables and chairs were all shattered and even the earth was trembling. A strange rhythm reverberated through this space. Qin Wentian's body was trembling along with this rhythm. A man. A lazy voice drifted over, causing the Barbarian Emperor to start. After that, his gaze turned gentle as the rhythm vanished. He turned his head and stared in a certain direction. Over there, the Palace Lord of the Thousand Feathers Palace was in. Come over to my place. Qin Wentian, you come over as well. That lazy voice rang out once more. The Barbarian Emperor coldly glanced at Qin Wentian before stepping out. Qin Wentian followed behind him and a moment later, the two of them arrived at the palace Yi Qianyu was staying in. Palace Mistress. The Barbarian Emperor and Qin Wentian walked over. Yi Qianyu changed her clothes again, exuding a sense of elegance and elegance. The two different styles seemed to have fused perfectly on her. The Barbarian Emperor stared at her as a bright light flashed in his eyes. A man, Qin Wentian has already joined us. You are just an immortal emperor, what's the point of provoking him? Do you even have me in your eyes? Yi Qianyu calmly spoke. The barbarian emperor bowed, "Palace mistress, I only want to see how strong his combat prowess is. I want to know if he is worthy enough for palace mistress to value him so highly. I naturally know what I'm doing. When have I ever needed you to make decisions for me?" Yi Qianyu's voice turned colder. This was the first time Qin Wentian saw this sexy woman having such a stern side to her. The barbarian emperor lowered his head. "A man knows his mistake. It's just that he hasn't done anything and is already receiving such treatment. I can't accept this in my heart." "Humph, do you think I don't know what you are thinking?" Yi Qianyu coldly snorted. "Since you destroyed Qin Wentian's residence, from now onwards, Qin Wentian, you can stay in my palace. There are many rooms here, you can choose whichever you want. Palace mistress, you mustn't." The barbarian emperor inclined his head, his expression changing as he stared at Yi Qianyu. Qin Wentian was also stunned. Although this woman was a supreme beauty, he truly didn't dare to stay here. He might be tortured miserably by this demoness. "Why? Are you starting to doubt my decision?" Yi Qianyu's voice turned even colder. "A man doesn't dare to. It's just that, palace mistress." The barbarian emperor still wanted to speak, but Yi Qianyu waved her hand, stopping him from continuing. She calmly spoke, "It's decided then. A man, I know what you are thinking about, but you better restrain your thoughts and focus on cultivation. Don't let down father's expectations." The barbarian emperor's heart trembled. He stared at Yi Qianyu only to see Yi Qianyu's gaze turning gentler, filled with anticipation. His heart trembled as he nodded, "Sister Qianyu, a man will definitely not let down master's expectations. Amicham, go on. Cultivation is number one." Yi Qianyu waved her hand. The barbarian emperor bade farewell, and before he left, he coldly glanced at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian sweated. At this moment, he finally understood the relationship between the two of them. Yi Qianyu's father was actually the master of the barbarian emperor. No wonder the barbarian emperor was so close to Yi Qianyu. An immortal emperor was willing to be her sedan bearer and even referred to himself as a man in front of her. So it turned out that there was a connection between them. Seems like they were family. Upon thinking of this, Qin Wentian felt even more depressed. How could he not see that the barbarian emperor was clearly in love with Yi Qianyu? Wasn't Yi Qianyu tricking him by letting him stay here? When he thought of the gaze of the barbarian emperor before he left, Qin Wentian felt incomparably depressed. Seeing the frown on Qin Wentian's face, Yi Qianyu smiled, "Why? Are you unhappy that I let you choose a room to stay here?" "I don't dare to. It's just that this subordinate is worried that Palace Lord's reputation would be affected. Hence." Qin Wentian trembled as he spoke. "You are so considerate of me. Since this is the case, why don't you stay with me? In that case, no one would gossip about us." Yi Qianyu giggled. Qin Wentian stared at the supreme beauty before him as he was dumbfounded. His body involuntarily shivered. Upon seeing the embarrassed look on Qin Wentian's face, Yi Qianyu giggled. That trembling body of hers was truly mesmerizing. "Earlier, you have also heard a man's words. You have no merits and would surely be criticized by others in the future. I'm currently planning for the next operation. At that time, why don't you come with me and use your original appearance to take revenge on the Jialan monarch? How about it?" Yi Qianyu spoke. Qin Wentian's expression turned black. He shook his head unceasingly, "Palace Lord, please spare me. I'm just a captive, Palace Lord can order me to do anything. Forget about being a bandit, I can help Palace Lord to manage some matters of the Thousand Feathers Palace. Palace Lord can make any arrangements for me." Bandit, he had to use his original appearance to be a bandit. How would he still be able to survive in the immortal realms in the future? He would definitely have to risk his life. There will naturally be people who will manage the matters of the Thousand Feathers Palace. You need to temper yourself. Being a bandit is very suitable. Yi Qianyu persuaded. Qin Wentian still shook his head, refusing to listen no matter what. You really don't want to go? Yi Qianyu's voice turned colder. Palace Lord, please forgive me. Qin Wentian lowered his head. Alright, I won't force you. Yi Qianyu sighed, her voice was filled with disappointment. Her gentle and charming eyes stared deeply at Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to almost agree. This woman was too terrifying, a single glance from her could cause people to lose their minds and be willing to go through water and tread on fire for her. What a femme fatale. Qin Wentian silently mused. Yi Qianyu turned and left, her back view exuded a sense of loneliness. She didn't seem like the charming immortal emperor beauty from before at all. Qin Wentian found a place to stay, as far away from Yi Qianyu's palace as possible. Yi Qianyu didn't look for him again to force him to become a bandit. One day, another person came to the palace. It was said that this person was an extremely powerful formation grandmaster. After being busy for a period of time, Yi Qianyu found Qin Wentian and asked him to follow her to her cultivation location. After passing through the Great Hall, Qin Wentian came to Yi Qianyu's cultivation location. This place had always been forbidden for outsiders to enter. Heavenly City was built on a mountain range. The back mountain where Yi Qianyu was cultivating it was extremely high, yet it was beautifully constructed and was covered in formations. Qin Wentian ascended the stairs and came to a cultivation platform. Qin Wentian's eyes abruptly froze there as he stared unblinkingly at the platform before him. How is it? Yi Qianyu stood beside Qin Wentian as she spoke in a gentle voice. This cultivation platform shone with a resplendent light. Astral light cascaded down unceasingly from the sky, seemingly boundless and boundless, resembling emperor light. Palace Mistress. Qin Wentian's expression turned heavy. This cultivation platform had 7 attributes and was completely compatible with the 7 astral souls he cultivated. Right now, he was no longer a newcomer to the supreme ancient immortal realms. He knew very well how valuable such a cultivation platform was. It was a supremely powerful formation, and this was especially so for the cultivation platform before his eyes. It was definitely constructed from emperor stones of the 7 attributes. Let alone an immortal king like him, even immortal emperors wouldn't be able to enjoy such a cultivation platform. However, Yi Qianyu actually constructed one for him. Chapter 1548. Qin Wentian glanced at Yi Qianyu, who was beside him. Palace Mistress, I don't understand. He truly didn't understand. Even immortal emperors couldn't enjoy such treatment. Why would Yi Qianyu give him such preferential treatment? Was it because she had seen his 7 astral souls before? In the future, you can freely enter and exit my palace. This cultivation platform belongs to you. You can go and experience it. Yi Qianyu smiled. Junior doesn't deserve it. Qin Wentian replied. The cultivation platform has already been completed and the price has already been paid. Whether you use it or not, that's your business. Don't worry, I won't use this to force you to become a bandit with me. If you aren't willing, there's no need for you to go. Yi Qianyu calmly spoke. After that, she walked forward, ascending the stairs step by step towards a high vantage point. From there, she would be able to see the scenery of Heavenly City from there. Is her loneliness real? Qin Wentian could actually sense the loneliness of Yi Qianyu's back. He sighed and turned his gaze to the cultivation platform before him. Drawing in a deep breath, he stepped on it and started to cultivate. 7-colored light revolved around him as boundless law energy descended from the sky. The dense law energy gushed into his body as he released his astral souls, frenziedly absorbing the law energy. At the same time, he was comprehending the law energy. This entire area was enveloped by a translucent formation. From here, one could see the scenery of Heavenly City, but from the outside, one wouldn't be able to see what was going on inside. It was impossible for immortal senses to seep in. Cultivating on the cultivation platform, only then did Qin Wentian truly understand how terrifying the cultivation resources of the supreme ancient immortal realms were. This was merely the tip of the iceberg. For those Empyrean powers at the world overlord level, what kind of terrifying cultivation resources would their descendants have? What kind of demon-level characters would they be able to create? Seems like even though he has heaven-defying astral souls now, he mustn't underestimate the heroes of the world. This world was far more fascinating compared to the azure mystic immortal realms. With such cultivation conditions, Qin Wentian naturally could focus on his cultivation. He was preparing to raise his cultivation base to the peak stage of the immortal king realm, returning to his peak state. If that was the case, he would have more assurance when he roamed the supreme ancient immortal realms. Sometimes, Yi Qianyu would come here to cultivate. Sometimes, she would sit on the high ground and watch the sun rise and set. Sometimes, she would drink wine alone, and there were even some times where she would bathe. Luckily, Qin Wentian was focused on his cultivation and had no time to care about other things. If not, he would surely be distracted. After a period of time, the barbarian emperor couldn't bear it any longer and came to Yi Qianyu's palace to meet with her. "Palace Lord, how can you do this? You actually built the cultivation platform in your own resting area." The barbarian emperor stared at the magnificent figure before him as his eyes flashed with reluctance. "Why not?" Yi Qianyu calmly asked. "Do you like to interfere in my matters so much now? During these few days, has he been inside?" The barbarian emperor pointed to the bedroom as he roared in anger. "Impudent." Yi Qianyu's expression turned cold. "Qianyu, even if I have to be impudent, I have to be impudent for once." "Why? Which part of me is inferior to him?" The barbarian emperor roared. A little lion appeared beside him, quietly staring at the barbarian emperor and Yi Qianyu as it shook its head. As the mount of the Night Empyrean, the evil emperor naturally knew that this disciple of the Night Empyrean was fond of his little miss. It was just that he truly wasn't worthy of his little miss. Yi Qianyu's cold eyes stared at the barbarian emperor, causing his anger to gradually calm down. He lowered his head again, not daring to look at her sharp eyes. "A man, just leave. You will understand me in the future." Yi Qianyu sighed. The barbarian emperor turned and left with reluctance. After seeing the barbarian emperor leaving, Yi Qianyu turned and walked towards the back of the palace. When she arrived before Qin Wentian, she halted and stared at his resplendent figure as a charming smile appeared on her face. This fellow was truly interesting. After that, she turned and walked towards the tall platform. Qin Wentian opened his eyes and glanced over. For some reason, he felt that Yi Qianyu's back view was extremely lonely. But after that, he closed his eyes again and continued his cultivation. Time flowed by unknowingly. In the blink of an eye, another 2 years passed. Qin Wentian opened his eyes as a resplendent beam of light shot out. Resplendent law light radiated from him, frenziedly entering his body. His astral souls vanished as he slowly stood up and walked out of the cultivation platform. He glanced in the direction of the tall platform. As expected, Yi Qianyu was there. She was quietly lying down on a cushion, staring at Heavenly City in a daze. He didn't know why, but every time Qin Wentian opened his eyes, he could feel her loneliness. "You've ended your seclusion." Yi Qianyu had a charming smile on her face. Her aura abruptly changed, like she was a completely different person. The lonely aura she exuded earlier instantly vanished. The her now was extremely charming and alluring to the extreme. "Emichim, many thanks Palace Mistress." Qin Wentian spoke. "Sit." Yi Qianyu smiled. Qin Wentian sat down opposite of her. After interacting with her for a period of time, he discovered that this woman wasn't as terrifying as he imagined. This was especially so for him. She treated him extremely well, so well that Qin Wentian didn't know what to do. Your cultivation speed is truly fast. You are at the peak stage of the Immortal King realm. You shouldn't feel any pressure when dealing with initial stage Immortal Emperors, right? Yi Qianyu's beautiful eyes stared unblinkingly at Qin Wentian. This cultivation speed was truly terrifying. In addition, Qin Wentian had already broken through a long time ago. It was just that he had yet to exit his seclusion. There shouldn't be any problems. Qin Wentian nodded lightly. It's just that I don't understand. Why does Palace Mistress treat me like this? Qin Wentian asked. If you don't understand, don't bother trying to understand. Yi Qianyu casually spoke. However, Qin Wentian truly doesn't know how to repay Palace Mistress's kindness. Qin Wentian sighed. Why don't you repay me with your body? Yi Qianyu's charming eyes were like silk, capable of hooking the souls of men away. Qin Wentian stared at this alluring woman as he bitterly smiled. Palace Mistress, if you continue to tempt me like this, I really won't be able to control myself. Is that so? In that case, you don't have to control yourself. Yi Qianyu giggled. This mistress is still a virgin. Qin Wentian had a face filled with black lines. He couldn't help but to think of the devilish female he met back in the myriad Devil Islands. That devilish female was also very powerful, causing him to have no way to defend against her. But this woman before his eyes was far superior compared to that devilish female. Regardless of looks, demeanor, sexiness, charm or strength, all of them were above the devilish female. I don't dare to. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled. Don't dare. In that case, you are saying that you don't dare to? Yi Qianyu still had no intentions of sparing Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian wanted to flee. Is it because of your senior sister? Yi Qianyu suddenly asked. Qin Wentian shook his head, turning his gaze downwards. With a single glance, a majestic city could be seen. In his mind, he couldn't help but to think of Qing'er and Qingcheng. Qing'er with a head full of silver hair and Qingcheng with a pair of lifeless eyes. They were still waiting for him in the azure mystic immortal realms. Despite the longing in his heart, Qin Wentian's heart was as calm as still water when facing the beauty before him. Upon sensing the change in Qin Wentian, Yi Qianyu's beautiful eyes flashed with a strange light. Seems like there was a story in his heart as well. How about 2 cups? Yi Qianyu asked. Sure. Qin Wentian nodded. Yi Qianyu waved her hand as the fragrance of wine permeated the air. Yi Qianyu took out a flask of wine and 2 cups. After that, she lifted the flask and poured the wine into the 2 cups. She then spoke in a gentle voice, "This is the first time I'm pouring wine for a man. Many thanks, Palace Mistress." Qin Wentian received the wine cups. The two of them toasted each other and drained the wine in a single gulp. The wine was very strong, capable of burning one's body and heart. Qin Wentian didn't expect Yi Qianyu to actually drink such strong wine. My surname is Yi. Yi Qianyu, very few people know of my surname. After a few cups of wine, Yi Qianyu blushed, appearing even more charming. She stared at Qin Wentian. Do you know of the Night Empyrean? I don't. Qin Wentian shook his head. You aren't someone from the region governed by the Jialan Monarch. Yi Qianyu seemed to have seen through Qin Wentian. She smiled. The Night Empyrean is a legendary great thief, an expert who once dominated the Lifefire Palace. He swept through the various mines and acted with no fear. Even the Lifefire Empyrean couldn't do anything to him. After that, the lifelong Realm Lord was alerted and the 2 Palace Lords joined forces to set up a heavenly net, capturing the Night Empyrean and all the people around him, including his wife and children. Qin Wentian's heart trembled. He seemed to have guessed something. I'm Yi Qianyu, the only daughter of the Night Empyrean. As expected, Yi Qianyu's words verified Qin Wentian's guess. His heart trembled. Yi Qianyu told him all this. As long as he revealed this to her, Yi Qianyu would definitely die without a burial ground. Given how vast the immortal realms are, those transcendent powers govern the world, dividing up the resources. All the resources belong to them. For those who don't follow orders, they are all unaffiliated cultivators, unable to enjoy the resources. For those who plunder resources, they are all bandits. How tyrannical are they? Everyone in the world can only enjoy the resources if they join their system. Yi Qianyu coldly spoke. Qin Wentian poured wine for her and she drained it in one cup after another. Naturally, the martial world has always been like this. The strong are tyrannical and supreme. Their words are orders. If one day, you can ascend to the peak, you will also be the same, controlling the world. At that time, those who follow will naturally prosper. Yi Qianyu seemed to be mocking herself. She then laughed. Back then, my father discovered a mine and hired people to excavate it. After that, a palace lord directly took it for himself and offered it to the realm lord. Isn't this plundering? Isn't this what bandits do? Qin Wentian sighed in his heart. Indeed, there was no difference. It was all plundering. It's just that if the other party was strong, it was justifiable. If the other party was weak, they were bandits. After that, after my father grew stronger, he became a bandit. And now, I've inherited what my father did. Yi Qianyu spoke as she laid on the ground again. That alluring figure of hers simply laid there. Even she herself didn't know how alluring she was. Do you think that I'm seducing you because I want you to stay by my side so that you can help me take revenge when you grow stronger in the future? Yi Qianyu suddenly stared at Qin Wentian. After drinking, her eyes were like silk, incomparably charming. I don't dare to. Qin Wentian continued, given palace lord's beauty, what kind of people wouldn't you be able to seduce? Most probably, even the world palace lords of the 9 world palaces wouldn't be able to resist your charm. Although I feel that my talent isn't bad, I don't dare to feel that my current self is qualified to be mentioned in the same breath as those world palace lords. He. Yi Qianyu smiled at Qin Wentian. You are wrong. I'm seducing you. If you want to do something to me, maybe I really won't resist. Qin Wentian heard that gentle voice and glanced at the slender figure lying on the ground. He felt as though he was about to collapse. This demoness was too ruthless. Chapter 1549. Qin Wentian stared at that incomparably alluring figure and spoke, Palace Mistress, I'm willing to follow you and become a bandit. It's just that I won't reveal my true appearance. Yi Qianyu started. She smiled at Qin Wentian, such a good opportunity yet you actually gave it up. Don't regret it. As for the matter of being a bandit, I won't force you to participate or not. Just do as you wish, don't force yourself because of your beauty. Qin Wentian speechlessly glanced at her. The Jialan Monarch has some grudges with me and I might as well use this opportunity to take revenge. This is my own intention. Palace Mistress, farewell. After speaking, Qin Wentian stood up and left. Staring at Qin Wentian's departing back, Yi Qianyu's beautiful eyes flashed with a bright light. After that, she turned her gaze back to the city. Gentle footsteps rang out. Yi Qianyu didn't turn her head back. In this place, other than Qin Wentian, only the evil emperor could enter. Miss, why must you do this? The evil emperor spoke in a light voice. Yi Qianyu turned her head and glanced at the little lion. She smiled, don't you feel that he is very interesting? I truly have no intentions of letting him become a bandit and wanted him to focus on his cultivation. However, he actually took the initiative to request this. Clearly, he wasn't tempted by me. He probably wants to repay the grace of that formation. Miss, your body is priceless. In the future, you will definitely have a Supreme Tao companion to accompany you. Why must you make things difficult for yourself? The evil emperor shook his head. Make things difficult? Yi Qianyu laughed. She stared at the evil emperor. Little lion, aren't you underestimating him a little too much? If he was willing earlier, I might not have rejected him. As she spoke, the corners of her mouth curled up into a faintly discernible smile that was extremely alluring. The evil emperor stared at Yi Qianyu in astonishment. Oh, little lion, don't you feel that he is very handsome? Yi Qianyu suddenly asked. The evil emperor was completely stunned as black lines appeared on his forehead. His young miss was at the immortal emperor realm, but she was actually smitten. Little lion, there are many things that you don't understand. Yi Qianyu sighed softly. She treated Qin Wentian very well and didn't have any ulterior motives. She didn't ask for much by helping Qin Wentian construct a formation for him. She only wanted Qin Wentian to remember her kindness when he grew stronger in the future. For some people, it was better to wait until they grew stronger to a certain extent before making use of them. They weren't so foolish. Sending charcoal in the snowy weather was far better than adding flowers to a brocade. I really don't understand. It's fine as long as you're happy, the little lion said softly. It was quite boring in the past. But now that he is here, I can tease him frequently. How interesting. Yi Qianyu smiled. But very swiftly, Yi Qianyu furrowed her brows. After that, her silhouette flashed as she flew outside. Outside, in Qin Wentian's residence, a figure appeared. A violent aura flowed around his body, and his cold eyes stared at Qin Wentian. His gaze was as sharp as a blade. Other than the barbarian emperor, who else could it be? A man. The evil emperor was also somewhat unhappy. The barbarian emperor kept coming here to cause trouble, and it was truly a little overboard. No matter how his little miss treated Qin Wentian, that was her private matter. Senior evil emperor, I must fight him today no matter what. The barbarian emperor was infuriated. Qin Wentian actually stayed in Yi Qianyu's residence for over 2 years. He had no idea what happened during this period of time. During these days, he had been in a daze and didn't even have the mood to cultivate. Finally, when Qin Wentian came out, he couldn't swallow this anger and directly came here. Senior's cultivation base is at the Immortal Emperor realm. Qin Wentian knows that he's inferior. Qin Wentian continued to evade the battle. Outside, the 3 peak stage immortal kings were secretly paying attention to the situation here. This time around, the barbarian emperor seemed to be angered. It wasn't a secret that the barbarian emperor was secretly in love with the palace mistress. Everyone knew that. In truth, who didn't have a crush on the palace mistress? In the entire heavenly city, it was unknown how many people drooled over the palace mistress's beauty. But what sort of character was the palace mistress? Not only was she extremely powerful, she controlled the treasure vault of the Thousand Feathers Palace and was also the #1 beauty in Heavenly City. There was no one in the entire Heavenly City who could catch her eye. The relationship between the barbarian emperor and the palace mistress was so good, but the palace mistress had never allowed him to enter her residence. But now, an immortal king captive actually managed to gain the favor of the palace mistress. One could even say that the palace mistress doted on him. They even suspected that the palace mistress was mesmerized by Qin Wentian's handsomeness. No wonder the barbarian emperor was so angry. Seems like this fellow was in for it. What's the use of such a cowardly person? If you don't want to fight, scram out. The barbarian emperor roared. Qin Wentian. At this moment, Yi Qianyu called out. Qin Wentian glanced at her. Fight him. Yi Qianyu's expression turned cold. An immortal emperor forcing an immortal king to fight, and you are still so arrogant? Seems like you are getting more and more ignorant of the immensity of the heavens and earth. Qianyu. The barbarian emperor stared at Yi Qianyu. Qin Wentian, did you hear my words? Yi Qianyu spoke again. Qin Wentian nodded. Okay, let's go. The barbarian emperor turned. No need, let's just fight here. Yi Qianyu stepped out. Terrifying law energy transformed into a spatial barrier, trapping the two of them within. A man, just use your strongest attack. Qin Wentian, there's no need to give him face. Yi Qianyu seemed to have steeled her heart, wanting to deal a blow to the barbarian emperor. The barbarian emperor was enraged when he heard Yi Qianyu's words. Bright light flashed as emperor light cascaded down from the sky. He was like a supreme emperor of his generation. A terrifying might gushed forth from him, wanting to crush the heavens. A violent palm imprint blotted out the sky, enveloping all directions. The barbarian emperor was truly enraged. Qin Wentian sighed in his heart. To the Qianyu palace, he was still considered an outsider. Even if Yi Qianyu treated him well, he still chose to keep a low profile and endure. However, the barbarian emperor kept pressuring him. Now that Yi Qianyu wanted him to act, he could only fight. Radiance enveloped him. Qin Wentian was actually bathed in holy light energy. His law energy transformed into a terrifying tempest that shot up into the sky. Kill! The barbarian emperor roared, causing the sky to change color. The five-fingered palm imprint brought with it a towering might as it blasted towards Qin Wentian. Go! Qin Wentian spoke. At this instant, a resplendent light suddenly radiated from his body. This light was so bright that it could blind the eyes of others. Even Yi Qianyu who was in the air had to shield her eyes. This light was like a beam of light that could illuminate the entire world, capable of annihilating everything. The barbarian emperor only felt a piercing pain in his eyes, but he was still an immortal emperor after all. Boundless astral light rained down on him, forming a barrier in front of him, transforming into a fearsome defensive barrier. However, the power of the light continued to shoot over. Everywhere it passed by, everything in its path was transformed into light. His defensive barrier was slowly being destroyed bit by bit. Arg! A scream of agony rang out. The beam of light penetrated into his body. The terrifying radiance was like a myriad of destructive swords. Qin Wentian moved, directly appearing before the barbarian emperor as he blasted out a palm imprint. With a thunderous boom, the barbarian emperor was flung through the air. He coughed out a mouthful of blood as he slammed into Yi Qianyu's defensive barrier. After that, he landed on the ground with a pale countenance. The barbarian emperor's body stiffened as he stood up. His gaze was somewhat sluggish as he stared at Qin Wentian in a daze. His countenance alternated between green and white. His body was still trembling, but this wasn't because of his injuries. Pooh! He coughed out another mouthful of blood. In an instant, the barbarian emperor's entire person seemed incomparably dispirited, as though he had lost his soul. The three peak stage immortal kings outside all widened their eyes when they saw this scene. They exchanged mutual glances, their gazes filled with shock. The barbarian emperor, who was at the immortal emperor realm, was actually defeated. Not only was he defeated, he was defeated in an extremely miserable manner. He was insta-defeated and had no way to retaliate at all. A dignified immortal emperor was actually defeated in such a domineering manner under the astral resonance radiance. Was this irony? Of course it was. Before this, Qin Wentian had been avoiding the battle, admitting that he was inferior to the barbarian emperor. But what was the truth? "A man, do you understand now?" Yi Qianyu dissipated her energy as she sighed lightly. The barbarian emperor inclined his head and stared at Yi Qianyu as a bitter smile appeared on his face. His smile was even uglier than crying, "No wonder you don't like me. So this is the case. A man, you have followed me for the longest time and should understand me more than the others. You should understand what my goal is, and I also hope that you can cultivate well, reaching the realm my father was at in the past. This is my hope for you and not because of emotions. Yi Qianyu's voice was no longer as cold as before. I understand. I will cultivate well. The barbarian emperor nodded. Go and prepare for the next operation. This time, Qin Wentian will participate as well. Yi Qianyu spoke. The barbarian emperor nodded and cast a deep glance at Qin Wentian before he departed. Several months later, Yi Qianyu, Qin Wentian and the others silently left the Thousand Palace. In a mountain range, there were clouds churning on the peak of the mountain as a terrifying Lion King hovered in the air. Yi Qianyu, Qin Wentian and the others were all clad in armor. In addition, more and more experts flew over, directly stepping onto the back of the Lion King. There was no communication at all, it was like they had long reached a tacit understanding. Before this, everything had already been communicated through messaging crystals. Everyone only needed to carry out the orders given. Finally, everyone had arrived. Yi Qianyu glanced at everyone as she spoke in a low voice, the Jialan monarch would definitely be prepared for this. This time around, things won't be as easy as before. The mining days of the Jialan monarch's territory are all staggered. Hence, they would definitely be on high alert and have experts guarding the area. In fact, even the Jialan monarch might appear at any time. Yi Qianyu glanced at everyone as she spoke in a low voice. Yi Qianyu's voice didn't contain any gentleness at all. There was only imposingness. Everyone nodded. They also understood that although 2 years have passed, the Jialan monarch wouldn't let his guard down. Maybe, he might even be waiting for them to appear. Everyone understood this point. The Jialan monarch. This was also the reason why it was so hard for bandits to survive. Sometimes, after doing something big, they had to wash their hands of the bandits. If not, they would be in danger the second time. Qin Wentian's expression turned heavy. He didn't expect that the first major thing he would do after coming to the supreme ancient immortal realms was actually to plunder. Truly, the affairs of the world are unpredictable. Chapter 1550. The Violet Cloud Mine was one of the 3 largest mines in the region under the Jialan monarch's control. It was an extremely valuable main mine and could produce immortal mountains of various attributes. Emperor-ranked stones would often appear here, and in fact, there were even existences that surpassed emperor-ranked stones. Hence, to the Jialan monarch, the importance of this mine far surpassed the other mine that was plundered earlier. Hence, the experts guarding this place would all have a higher cultivation base. Right now, there were already 2 mid-stage immortal emperors guarding this place, personally collecting the mine. This formation was simply terrifying. There were 6 teleportation arrays here, all of them connected to the Jialan monarch's emperor palace. Also, this mine wasn't too far away from a major city. Even if the teleportation array was destroyed, the Jialan monarch could still teleport to the major city nearby and use the shortest amount of time to rush here. Hence, normally, no bandits would dare to rob the Violet Cloud Mine. Even during normal times, ordinary bandits wouldn't dare to take such a huge risk. The defenses of this mine were simply too strong. In addition, 2 years ago, the Jialan monarch had a bandit incident. From this, one could very well imagine how tight the defenses were now. At a place extremely far away from the Violet Cloud Mine, the clouds in the sky churned. The evil emperor transformed into a gigantic lion and continued advancing forward. On the back of the lion, experts were as common as the clouds. Qin Wentian could faintly sense that this time around, the number of experts was even more terrifying compared to before. There were many more immortal emperors among them. Qin Wentian. Only to see at this moment, Yi Qianyu's voice suddenly rang out in Qin Wentian's mind. This caused his eyes to flash as he glanced at Yi Qianyu. Although the Jialan monarch is a mid-stage immortal emperor, he is one of the 9 monarchs of the Lifefire Palace. His strength alone is extremely shocking. After the battle starts, you have to avoid him no matter what. Your goal is to wipe out the peak stage immortal kings of the other party before luring initial stage immortal emperors to kill you. Yi Qianyu spoke. Qin Wenqian's expression turned cold. Yi Qianyu actually intentionally told him to avoid the Jialan monarch. Seems like that fellow's strength must be extraordinary and might be able to kill him easily. Now that he has been in the supreme ancient immortal realms for a period of time, as he gained more understanding of this place, he naturally wouldn't be too arrogant. There would definitely be many extraordinary characters in the vast supreme ancient immortal realms. Good. Palace Lord seems to know that the Jialan monarch would definitely appear. In that case, for this operation, are we going to clash head-on? Qin Wenqian transmitted his voiceover. Just wait and watch the show. Don't worry, I will only kill the subordinates of the Jialan monarch. As long as those miners don't act against us, no one will act against them. Yi Qianyu smiled as she transmitted her voiceover. Qin Wenqian didn't say anything more. Yi Qianyu was the daughter of the Night Empyrean and her enemies were two of the 9 world palaces. The Lifire Palace and the 9 monarchs under the Lifire Palace had all participated in the massacre of her family. There was nothing wrong with her seeking revenge. Moreover, she was a bandit, so she was naturally irreconcilable with the other party. The demonic Lion Emperor continued moving forward, and finally arrived in the airspace above the Violet Cloud Mine. Qin Wenqian cast his gaze downwards, only to see numerous sharp gazes directed at him from the Violet Cloud Mine. Kill! Yi Qianyu coldly spoke. After that, the armored experts directly descended from the air. They actually didn't break the teleportation array like before but chose to launch a frontal assault instead. Qin Wenqian's heart trembled. Yi Qianyu's operation this time around was clearly to challenge the Jialan monarch. In the air, boundless light cascaded downwards. The gigantic demonic Lion Emperor roared and rushed out, ignoring everything as he rushed towards the 2 mid-stage immortal emperors. Yi Qianyu was clad in armor. She had a long black spear in her hands. This black spear shone with a dark light and in the air, astral light cascaded downwards. Yi Qianyu stabbed out with her spear and in an instant, the entire area below turned pitch black. Numerous figures soared up into the air, rushing out of the darkness. In that pitch-black domain, their immortal senses were completely covered in darkness, they couldn't see anything. The jade-green eyes of the evil emperor directly shot into the mind of a mid-stage immortal emperor. It was like a lion king walking towards the soul of that mid-stage immortal emperor, guarding there. The evil emperor opened his bloody maw and swallowed downwards. That mid-stage immortal emperor's countenance drastically changed as he hurriedly retreated. The eyes of the evil emperor gleamed with green light. His speed increased as he directly swallowed that mid-stage immortal emperor, causing everyone to be dumbfounded. A mid-stage immortal emperor was actually swallowed by the evil emperor in the blink of an eye. Qin Wenqian's heart trembled. In the supreme ancient immortal realms, the death of immortal emperors was a very ordinary matter. It basically wouldn't cause too great of a commotion. A group battle instantly erupted. Qin Wenqian rushed out, his fingers like swords. With every strike, an immortal king would definitely die. In a short period of time, countless experts died. However, at this moment, the teleportation array connecting the mine to the outside world lit up as a group of experts walked out. What made Qin Wenqian shocked was that the person in the lead was actually the Jialan monarch. The Jialan monarch was no longer in the Emperor Palace. He was hiding in the mine instead. Clearly, he hadn't forgotten the time when he plundered the mine and had been waiting for an opportunity. Right now, this group of bandits finally appeared again. The teleportation array connecting the mine to the mine also lit up as more and more experts walked out. Qin Wenqian saw a familiar figure, cold as ice and peerlessly beautiful. It was none other than Princess Kitamura. She has also arrived. Evil Emperor. The Jialan monarch's expression turned ashen when he saw the evil emperor killing another mid-stage immortal emperor under him. His killing intent was extremely terrifying. The two mid-stage immortal emperors guarding this place were instantly killed by the evil emperor. The evil emperor was clearly here to start a war. He showed no mercy, killing two powerful immortal emperors first. These two mid-stage immortal emperors, in addition to the two initial stage immortal emperors he killed earlier, the Jialan monarch had already lost 4 immortal emperors in just a short span of 3 years. This was sufficient to cause him to feel heartache. In the future, he would need to recruit more subordinates from outside, promising them conditions and nurture them into his trusted subordinates. The evil emperor roared and directly rushed towards the Jialan monarch. His jade-green eyes shot into the Jialan monarch's sea of consciousness. However, he only saw the Jialan monarch's eyes becoming extremely terrifying, extremely bizarre, able to cause people to fall into a trance. At the same time, runic lines appeared on his body as a terrifying aura gushed forth, devouring the law energy in the surroundings. At the same time, he also frenziedly absorbed the emperor light in the air. The entire person of the Jialan monarch became incomparably resplendent. Under the astral light, he was like a pillar of light that shot up to the heavens. On the pillar of light, terrifying runes could be seen, causing thunder and lightning to rumble. The runes on the Jialan monarch's body transformed into numerous illusory dragons that coiled around the pillar of light, roaring as they soared into the air. Kill! The Jialan monarch coldly roared. The dragons and snakes danced in the air, transforming into a terrifying gigantic beast that blasted towards the evil emperor. A heaven-shaking collision rang out as a violent shockwave swept across the area. The experts in the surroundings were all forced back, fleeing far away from this battlefield. In the air, the light was incomparably resplendent as a destructive might bore down. A terrifying beam of light shot down from the pillar of light, and under the shocked gazes of everyone, a supremely terrifying gigantic beast appeared in the air above the Jialan monarch. It resembled a dragon yet wasn't a dragon, resembled a snake yet wasn't a snake. It had sharp horns, a malevolent countenance, a coiled body, and a pair of demonic eyes. The Jialan monarch's eyes were also extremely demonic. He stared at the gigantic Lion King and coldly spoke, "Evil Emperor, after the Night Empyrean died, you actually still dare to cause trouble here. Today, this monarch shall eliminate you." The evil emperor moved forward, his jade-green eyes were extremely demonic. Yi Qianyu also walked over, wielding a long spear of darkness as her expression was extremely cold. "Where is Qin Wentian?" Princess Kitamura coldly glanced over as she coldly spoke, her words causing Qin Wentian who was at the side to be stunned. Yi Qianyu glanced at Princess Kitamura as a bright light flashed in her eyes. Was this the beautiful senior sister of Qin Wentian? She was truly very beautiful. At this moment, a figure madly rushed towards Princess Kitamura, causing Qin Wentian to start. The person rushing towards Princess Kitamura was none other than the barbarian emperor who was clad in armor. Princess Kitamura's body shone with emperor light as a cold intent engulfed the area. In an instant, the space around the barbarian emperor froze, turning into ice, causing the barbarian emperor's body to be sealed in ice. With a roar, Princess Kitamura stepped out, radiating a powerful killing intent. With a wave of her hand, a deathly cold aura gushed forth. Given Yo Huang's strength, it shouldn't be a problem for her to deal with the barbarian emperor. Qin Wentian silently mused. Princess Kitamura was an extremely demon-level genius in the Azure Mystic Immortal realms. She was the youngest immortal emperor in the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom and had ascended to the peak of the Demon God Mountain before. She also broke through to the immortal emperor realm in the Tiandao Sacred Academy, and there was no doubt about her talent. It was just that because of her beautiful countenance, her talent in cultivation was easily overlooked by others. "Did you forget to fight just because you saw your lover?" Yi Qianyu's voice rang out in Qin Wentian's mind, filled with a hint of mockery. Qin Wentian was speechless. After that, he stepped out, directly moving towards a peak-stage immortal king. With a single glance, an eye technique appeared as sword chi gushed forth, directly killing that immortal king. Right now, his cultivation base had returned to the peak of the past. Those at the same level as him couldn't even withstand a single strike from him. Even if he didn't use his law domain, just a simple punch or a sword strike would be sufficient to kill his opponent. A sword domain appeared around Qin Wentian. As he stepped out, killing intent gushed forth, traversing through the air, unceasingly killing his opponents. In the blink of an eye, many immortal kings died in his hands. Bzz. A raging wind gusted as an immortal emperor rushed towards Qin Wentian. This immortal emperor was one of the two immortal emperors who appeared together with the Jialan monarch in the Wind Thunder City. Qin Wentian retreated, instantly retreating far away. However, that immortal emperor snorted coldly. How would he spare Qin Wentian? Resplendent emperor light radiated from him as a prison of earth appeared, trapping him and Qin Wentian within. This was the power of his domain. The light cascading down from the sky was still unceasingly supplying law energy to the prison. Chapter 1551. That immortal emperor used a prison to seal this space. He stared at Qin Wentian with a gaze like he was looking at a dead man. His expression was extremely cold as he spoke. With such combat prowess, why would you choose to be a bandit when there's such a luxurious path? Courting death. As the sound of his voice faded, he took a step forward. Qin Wentian only felt a formless pressure bearing down on his body, pressing down on him. Qin Wentian's expression was calm to the extreme. Law light radiated from him as boundless radiance cascaded downwards. Boundless holy light radiated from him, blinding the eyes of those who looked at him. A spatial gate appeared. Qin Wentian stepped out and in the next instant, another spatial gate appeared before the immortal emperor. Qin Wentian's finger slowly stabbed out from within. In just an instant, a brilliant radiance radiated forth, like a great art of light. Everywhere it passed by, everything was enveloped by the radiance, wanting to submit to destruction. That immortal emperor punched out, causing the entire space to tremble. Even the spatial gate was directly shattered. Boundless attacks bore down on Qin Wentian. However, under the radiance of light, no matter how strong the attacks were, they would all be destroyed. Also, that finger of Qin Wentian actually unleashed a boundless sword of light that was akin to a torrential river, frenziedly piercing into his opponent's body. How could the radiance be blocked? In just an instant, the immortal emperor's body turned into white light bit by bit before disintegrating into nothingness. It was as though he had never appeared in the first place. As for the prison that trapped the two of them, it naturally disappeared as well. Emichem. The eyes of those experts narrowed when they saw this scene. That immortal emperor actually vanished. Not long ago, that immortal emperor created a prison, causing this bandit to have no way to escape. He was prepared to trap and kill him. But now, the one who vanished was actually that immortal emperor. However, at this moment, everyone was in a frenzied battle. For a period of time, no one had the time to deal with Qin Wentian. And among the various battlefields, the one where the Jialan monarch and the evil emperor fought was naturally the most violent. Their battle swept through everything, enveloping boundless regions, directly soaring up into the sky. The gigantic demon summoned by the Jialan monarch was actually able to fight against the evil emperor. As for the Jialan monarch himself, he was fighting against Yi Qianyu. Just like what Yi Qianyu said before, as one of the 9 monarchs under the Lifire Empyrean, the Jialan monarch's status was even above many peak-stage immortal emperors. There was no need to doubt his combat prowess. If not, he wouldn't be able to sit on his current position. If the strength of the monarch in charge of a region was too weak, how would he be able to suppress the other experts? How would he be able to face the bandits? Although things he couldn't resolve would eventually be resolved by the Lifire Palace, what was the use of having such a subordinate? The Li-Fire Palace definitely needed the strongest experts to guard the various regions, sharing the burden of the Li-Fire Empyrean. Qin Wentian glanced over there before glancing at the battle between Princess Kitamura and the Barbarian Emperor. Princess Kitamura already held the absolute advantage, firmly suppressing the Barbarian Emperor. If this continued on, the Barbarian Emperor might very well be killed by Princess Kitamura if he didn't flee. Why are you not coming to help? The Barbarian Emperor coldly glanced at Qin Wentian, his words causing Qin Wentian's eyes to stiffen involuntarily. The Qin Wentian you are talking about, is he the captive? He is already dead, killed by him personally. The Barbarian Emperor pointed to Qin Wentian as he spoke. Princess Kitamura's long hair fluttered madly when she heard this. The coldness from her body soared into the sky as she frenziedly rushed towards the Barbarian Emperor, injuring him and forcing him to retreat. However, she didn't continue to chase after him. Her silhouette flashed as she appeared before Qin Wentian. Is what he said true? Qin Wentian saw that Princess Kitamura's eyes gleamed with a blood-colored light. Her killing intent and coldness were mixed together, terrifying to the extreme. This beautiful princess of the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom actually cared so much about him. That fellow, the Barbarian Emperor, seems like he still bore a grudge against him. He intentionally did this, causing him to be in a dilemma. Should he fight or should he tell Princess Kitamura? If he told Princess Kitamura, it was very easy for him to be exposed. Others might guess that he was Qin Wentian. If that's the case, leaving aside the immortal realms, as a bandit, he had already killed the Li-Fire Empyrean's men. Most probably, he wouldn't be able to continue living in this region and wouldn't be able to show his true face to others. Yes. Qin Wentian's silhouette flashed. As the sound of his voice faded, he turned and soared into the air. Arg! Princess Kitamura roared when she saw Qin Wentian admitting to it. Her long hair fluttered madly in the wind as she stretched her palms out. Cracking sounds rang out unceasingly as the space around her froze. How could she continue traversing through space? The might of light radiating from Qin Wentian swept through everything, illuminating the frozen space. Princess Kitamura madly chased after him. Upon seeing this scene, Qin Wentian felt some warmth in his heart. He didn't expect Princess Kitamura to be so concerned about him. Upon hearing the news of his death, she actually acted in such a crazy manner. He continued advancing forward while Princess Kitamura pursued relentlessly. There were several times when she almost struck him, but all of her attacks were neutralized by his powerful attacks. The two of them soared through the air and soon arrived at an extremely faraway place. Qin Wentian turned his head and glanced at Princess Kitamura who was still madly chasing after him. He transmitted his voice, "Yu Huang, it's me." Princess Kitamura abruptly halted. She stopped just like that as she stared dumbfoundedly at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian turned and faced Princess Kitamura as he spoke, "Beauty, why have you been following me? Could it be that you have fallen for this seat?" "Who?" Princess Kitamura instantly knew that Qin Wentian was doing this intentionally when she heard his words. But when she saw that he was intentionally teasing her, in addition to the fact that he lied to her earlier, although the blood in her eyes dissipated, she still coldly stared at Qin Wentian. She directly grabbed out with her hands, causing ice to envelop everything, directly freezing Qin Wentian who was caught off guard. Qin Wentian was instantly stunned. Princess Kitamura was too ruthless, wasn't this for real? A bright light flashed, Qin Wentian's law energy broke apart the ice. When he saw the cold look in Princess Kitamura's eyes, he could only smile bitterly in his heart as he transmitted his voice, "Yu Huang, are you doing well in the Emperor Palace of the Jialan Monarch? Did he bully you? Do you want me to help you kill a few more immortal emperors to help you vent your anger?" Princess Kitamura couldn't be bothered with him and continued her attacks. Qin Wentian could only helplessly defend, but Qin Wentian was only putting on an act. Princess Kitamura was actually for real, almost hitting Qin Wentian several times. "Emichem. At this moment, Qin Wentian frowned. He only saw the barbarian emperor rushing over here as he coldly spoke, "Let me help you kill her." As he spoke, a gigantic palm imprint blotted out the sky as it blasted towards Princess Kitamura. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with coldness. Did this barbarian emperor want to kill Princess Kitamura, or was he trying to force him to admit his identity? Once he admitted that he was Qin Wentian, not only would he be hunted down, Princess Kitamura's status in the Jialan Monarch's faction would also be extremely awkward. In fact, she might even be targeted. "There's no problem for you to restrain her. I'll go kill the others." Qin Wentian's silhouette flashed, directly abandoning Princess Kitamura. A spatial gate flashed as he soared through the air, his actions causing the barbarian emperor's expression to turn extremely cold. "Retreat." At this moment, a voice rang out in the air. It was Yi Qinyu's voice. She and the evil emperor coldly stared at the Jialan monarch as they retreated. The experts from the various factions all retreated towards her. The Jialan monarch waved his hand, stopping everyone from continuing the battle. At this moment, he suddenly had a bad premonition. Earlier when they were fighting, the teleportation array leading to the Emperor Palace was destroyed by a few immortal kings. Both sides were fighting, but why did the other party destroy the teleportation array? There was only one goal in doing so, and that was to prevent him from using the teleportation array to return to the Emperor Palace. He naturally didn't think that these bandits would be so daring to attack his Emperor Palace. However, what if these bandits had other accomplices? The Jialan monarch had been in a high position for many years and was naturally extremely sensitive to such things. When the teleportation array was destroyed, he already thought of many things and felt a faint sense of worry in his heart. The people on Yi Qinyu's side, including Qin Wentian, all retreated onto the back of the evil emperor. Yi Qinyu's exposed eyes flashed with a mocking smile. After that, the evil emperor retreated as well. Princess Kitamura stood opposite Qin Wentian. Cold eyes were still staring at Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to perspire. Was this woman trying to pit herself against him? She must have been joking, right? "Yu Huang, do you still remember the lake we visited? 1 month later, I'll go there to look for you." As the evil emperor retreated, Qin Wentian transmitted his voice to Princess Kitamura. This battle ended too quickly. He wanted to ask Princess Kitamura how she was doing now. But given the current situation, it was impossible for him to leave a strand of immortal sense in her messaging crystal. Qin Wentian could only arrange a time to visit her. Back then, he had abandoned Princess Kitamura in the Jialan monarch's emperor palace for over 10 years. Although Princess Kitamura had always been stronger than him in the past, Monarch. Upon seeing the evil emperor and the others disappearing, some experts walked to the Jialan monarch's side, staring at him in bewilderment. The other party was a bandit. Even if they couldn't suppress them, they shouldn't allow them to leave so easily, right? If the Lifire Palace learned of this, the Lifire Empyrean would surely punish them. Something's wrong. This time around, the bandits didn't come for the mine. The Jialan monarch narrowed his eyes. He took out his messaging crystal and very swiftly, a voice rang out in his mind. "Monarch, there are bandits attacking the quicksand mine and sky meteorite mine." Rumble. A violent aura gushed forth from the Jialan monarch. He instantly stepped out, moving towards the nearest city. The quicksand mine, meteorite mine, as well as the violet cloud mine, were the 3 main mines under his control. Right now, the bandits directly attacked this place on the day they opened the mine. He was already prepared for this and decided to ambush them here. However, the target of the bandits was actually the other 2 mines. What a good diversion. From the looks of it, even with such a powerful group of bandits, they weren't the full strength of the bandits. In that case, how strong were these bandits exactly? After the Night Empyrean was destroyed back then, could there still be survivors? Chapter 1552. After the Jialan monarch arrived at the city closest to the mine, he discovered that this city was attacked. The teleportation array leading to the emperor's city was destroyed. Clearly, this was a premeditated act of plundering. The first time the Jialan monarch plundered an ordinary mine, it was actually just a small matter. After 2 to 3 years, this was the true meaning of a grand robbery. As expected of the Knight Empyrean, the Jialan monarch had a heavy expression on his face. He knew that this time around, he would surely be under immense pressure from the Lifire Palace. As for Yi Qianyu and the others, they continued on their journey. Just like before, there were many people silently leaving, not communicating with each other. Their tacit understanding was terrifying. Yi Qianyu, Qin Wentian and the others returned to the Thousand Feathers Palace in Heavenly City. Qin Wentian, you actually didn't do your best to kill your enemies. You clearly have the ability to kill initial stage immortal emperors, why didn't you act earlier? After returning to the inner palace, Qin Wentian reverted to his original appearance. The barbarian emperor berated him. Qin Wentian coldly glanced at him. I still want to ask you, what is the barbarian emperor's purpose? You clearly know that she is my senior apprentice sister, why did you intentionally send her to fight against me? If it wasn't for me being held back, I would naturally be able to kill a few more people. What do you mean by this? Palace Mistress, Senior Apprentice Sister Qin Wentian is someone from the Lifire Palace. Her heart would no longer be there sooner or later. The barbarian emperor coldly snorted as he stared at Yi Qianyu. A man, since I dared to use him, I naturally have considered this. In addition, Qin Wentian has already fought together with us and even killed an immortal emperor. What problem can there be? Yi Qianyu calmly spoke. A man, go ahead. After we obtain the mine, I will forge an even better emperor-ranked weapon for you. Many thanks Palace Mistress. The barbarian emperor clasped his hands. He coldly glanced at Qin Wentian before retreating. Yi Qianyu and Qin Wentian then returned to her palace. After all, Qin Wentian was staying there. Within the palace, Qin Wentian stared at Yi Qianyu, Palace Mistress, what is the purpose of this robbery? Of course, he noticed that the plunder this time was unusual, and he couldn't help but ask. Yi Qianyu's earlier solemn expression vanished, revealing her charming and flirtatious look. She didn't reply to Qin Wentian. Her soul-stirring eyes stared at Qin Wentian with a smile, your little lover is truly very beautiful and strong. So it turns out that you like cold beauties. Qin Wentian was stunned and a little speechless. However, he didn't explain to this demoness. Don't worry. Although we didn't gain anything from our frontal attack, we won't have to worry about not having enough resources to cultivate for 100 years. Yi Qianyu smiled. There are 3 main mines under the Jialan monarch's jurisdiction. They are the Violet Cloud Mine, Quicksand Mine, and Heavenly Meteorite Mine. When we attacked the Violet Cloud Mine, the Quicksand Mine and Heavenly Meteorite Mine were also plundered. Tell me, if an immortal emperor brought a group of immortal kings to kill their way into the mines, how many mines would they be able to bring out? Qin Wentian stared at the smile on Yi Qianyu's face as his heart involuntarily trembled. This time around, the purpose of the robbery was actually to cover for the other 2 mines. Not only that, they even killed their way into the mines. This was simply too audacious. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled. Bandits, this seductive beauty before him was a supreme bandit. Could it be that he had boarded the pirate ship? Staring at the bitter expression on Qin Wentian's face, Yi Qianyu winked at him and giggled, even if you want to leave now, you won't be able to. Are you regretting now? Do you want me to order my men to forge 2 emperor-ranked weapons for you? You can tell me what weapon you want. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled and shook his head. Yi Qianyu blinked her eyes and smiled, could it be that you are angry because I didn't tell you about the operation in advance? I don't dare to. Qin Wentian continued to shake his head. This was his first time participating in an operation. It was only normal that Yi Qianyu didn't tell him about it. Are you really angry? Could it be that you want me to devote my life to you? If you want it, you can just say it. Maybe, I will agree to it. Yi Qianyu smiled. Her gaze caused Qin Wentian's resistance to grow weaker and weaker. Upon seeing Yi Qianyu walking over, Qin Wentian was on the verge of tears. Palace mistress, I'm going to cultivate. As he spoke, he fled, running towards the cultivation platform. If you like cold beauties, I can pretend to be colder as well. Yi Qianyu stared at the fleeing Qin Wentian as she called out. Qin Wentian staggered and almost fell to the ground. Did he have to do this? Would he still be able to cultivate properly in the future? The quicksand mine and heavenly meteorite mine were plundered. The guardians of the two mines were almost completely wiped out. The bandits invaded the two mines at the same time and plundered everything in a frenzy. As the Jialan monarch who was in charge of the mines, he actually didn't appear in time. He only arrived after the mines were plundered. By then, the bandits had already vanished without a trace, leaving behind a scene of chaos. This matter caused quite a huge commotion in the Lifire Palace. The Lifire Empyrean was enraged and sent people to investigate. The Jialan monarch then headed to the Lifire Palace to beg for forgiveness. In the Lifire Palace, there were several monarchs who were on bad terms with the Jialan monarch who accused the Jialan monarch of not doing his job well. They begged the Lifire Empyrean to remove the Jialan monarch from his position, causing the Jialan monarch to feel extremely embarrassed. In the end, the Lifire Empyrean still gave him a chance to investigate this matter. He had to find the bandits no matter what. Only then did this matter come to an end. The Jialan monarch started his investigation. However, the other party didn't leave any clues for him. In addition, how would the bandits who plundered the two mines still take the initiative to appear? It was highly probable that they wouldn't appear again for a very long period of time. In fact, they might even vanish without a trace, never to appear again. Just like what the Jialan monarch predicted, after this incident, it was indeed impossible for Yi Qianyu to act again within a short period of time. As for Qin Wentian, he was preparing to head to the Jialan Emperor city. After Yi Qianyu learned of this, she actually wanted to accompany him. Qin Wentian was speechless and decisively rejected, not allowing Yi Qianyu to go. What a joke, wouldn't it be too conspicuous for an immortal emperor-ranked beauty to follow him? Could it be that this woman didn't know who she was? She was the daughter of the Knight Empyrean, the leader of the bandits. She even wanted to head to the Jialan Emperor city. What a crazy woman. Although Qin Wentian firmly rejected, his rejection was useless, hence, today, a strange duo appeared in the Jialan Emperor city. A young man walked in the city, exuding an extraordinary aura. This was naturally none other than Qin Wentian who had changed his appearance. Even so, he still exuded an air of elegance. But even so, the passers-by only casually glanced at him and treated him like air. Because, the person beside him was simply too eye-catching. Today, Yi Qianyu was wearing a long dress with the tail of a phoenix, accentuating her sexy figure to perfection. Her radiant and beautiful countenance, her fair skin, her alluring figure, and her snow-white neck were all the more soul-stirring. What was even more alluring was the cut of her dress, revealing her long and slender legs. Her entire body exuded a mesmerizing aura. However, no one dared to antagonize her. When the passers-by glanced at her, they all discovered that her aura was deep and unfathomable. Her cultivation base was surely extremely high. However, such a flawless and sexy beauty was actually hugging that young man with one arm, her charming eyes gleaming with the light of happiness. But the strange thing was that the young man had a cold expression on his face the entire way, as though he wanted to beat someone up. This scene was simply too unharmonious. This made many people want to rush out and beat up Qin Wentian before throwing him to the side to replace him. They silently cursed at this bastard in their hearts. Such a blessing, yet he didn't know how to enjoy it and even had a cold expression on his face. What did he mean? He actually didn't know how to have tender and protective feelings for the fairer sex. It was as though he had wronged him. What a bastard, Qin Wentian truly wanted to beat someone up. It was one thing for this vixen to come, but couldn't she be more low profile? What was the point of her dressing so sexily? Did she feel that she couldn't attract the attention of others? Being a bandit to such an extent, Qin Wentian felt like crying. He initially wanted to come here in a low-profile manner. But now things were different. Everywhere they passed by, everyone would notice them. Can you let go? Qin Wentian gritted his teeth as he transmitted his voice. He could feel the sensation on his arm. Right now, he was in great pain, extremely great pain. Am I not beautiful? Yi Qianyu glanced at Qin Wentian with a wronged expression. That gaze of hers could instantly cause the hearts of others to soften. It wasn't that she wasn't beautiful, she was simply too beautiful. Qin Wentian completely gave up when he saw the look in her eyes. He knew that it was useless. Whatever this vixen wanted to do, he wouldn't be able to stop her. Under the night sky, the scenery on the lake was incomparably beautiful. The dragon boats and pleasure boats could be seen, the sounds of zither melodies could be heard, and the pavilions on the lake were filled with beauties dancing. Boating on the lake was indeed a very relaxing thing. Qin Wentian sat on one of the dragon boats, his immortal scent spread out in all directions. Beside him, Yi Qianyu was lying down with her head resting on his thighs. Her figure was as perfect as a water snake and was extremely alluring. This caused many dragon boats to gather around Qin Wentian. Although he didn't dare to disturb them, it wouldn't be a problem for him to take a look, right? Qin Wentian's peak stage immortal king aura gushed forth, engulfing the surroundings. He coldly spoke, "Scram." A moment later, the dragon boats in the surroundings dispersed. Upon seeing this scene, Yi Qianyu's beautiful eyes flashed with a bright light. She giggled, "You wouldn't be jealous seeing so many people looking at me, right?" Qin Wentian gritted his teeth and glanced at the supreme beauty beside him. For some reason, when he saw so many people paying attention to Yi Qianyu, although he wasn't jealous, he did feel a little uncomfortable. Maybe, this was the nature of men. Why don't you pursue me? Maybe in the future, I will only let you look at me alone. You can look at me however you want. Yi Qianyu smiled charmingly. Her long hair cascaded down the deck. That mesmerizing countenance of hers was even more beautiful compared to the moonlight. "Palace mistress, please spare me." Qin Wentian transmitted his voiceover. If this continued, he would surely die. At this moment, a strand of immortal sense collided with Qin Wentian's. After that, Qin Wentian felt a chill in his body. His eyes abruptly opened as he controlled the dragon boat and flew towards a certain direction. On a boat far away, there was an icy beauty standing there. Under the moonlight, she was like a goddess and similarly attracted the gazes of many. However, the eyes of this icy beauty were coldly staring at Qin Wentian and Yi Qianyu. Yi Qianyu seemed to have sensed something. She smiled lightly and actually placed her head on Qin Wentian's thigh. Qin Wentian's gaze instantly turned sluggish. Chapter 1553. This. Qin Wentian lowered his head and stared at the supreme beauty lying on his lap. He only saw Yi Qianyu smiling as she stared at the incoming dragon boat, smiling at the icy goddess on the boat. That smile, no matter how Qin Wentian looked at it, contained a hint of provocation. He couldn't help but feel a headache. This woman had truly gone crazy. Cold expression on Princess Kitamura's face was as cold as ever. She naturally saw Yi Qianyu staring at her. She stared at Yi Qianyu, her charming countenance and perfect figure laid there beside Qin Wentian. Her exquisite curves were simply too alluring. Even as a woman, she could feel her charm, let alone Qin Wentian who was a man. Inclining her head slightly, her cold gaze was akin to the cold wind, exceptionally piercing. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled. Although he didn't have any relationship with Princess Kitamura and there was no need for him to explain anything, he still felt that this was somewhat absurd. This demoness' actions were completely illogical. This place was the emperor's city of the Jialan monarch, yet she came here dressed in such a seductive manner, completely unafraid of attracting attention. One simply couldn't imagine what she would do. You invited me here just to see this scene. A cold voice rang out in Qin Wentian's mind. This was naturally Princess Kitamura's voice. Yu Huang, if I say this demoness intentionally acted this way after seeing you, would you believe me? Qin Wentian bitterly smiled as he replied, similarly transmitting his voiceover. It doesn't matter if I believe you or not, we have no relationship at all. If there's nothing else, I will leave first. Now that you are a bandit, it's best if you don't stay in the Emperor's city any longer. Princess Kitamura's voice was as cold as ever, as though she wanted to push people 1,000 miles away. Qin Wentian didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He weakly spoke, "Are you jealous?" Princess Kitamura's beautiful eyes flashed. Her cold yet bright eyes stared at Qin Wentian. With a wave of her hand, the dragon boat directly turned around, preparing to leave. Just kidding. Qin Wentian blushed with shame. He steered the dragon boat forward at high speed and soon caught up with Princess Kitamura's dragon boat. However, he did not go over to her. Instead, he just kept abreast of her dragon boat. "You're ignoring me after seeing your lover." Yi Qianyu giggled, her words causing Qin Wentian to stare at her in astonishment. She actually didn't transmit her voice and spoke directly. "You're crazy." Qin Wentian lowered his head and looked at her. Didn't she know that if someone saw it, it would cause suspicion? "Sigh, looks like I'm not welcome here." Yi Qianyu bitterly sighed. After that, she sat up and spoke, "All right then, I'll leave the time to you guys. I'm going to be lonely by myself." After speaking, her silhouette flashed as she stepped on the lake, heading towards a pavilion. There was a fairy dancing there, exuding incomparable beauty. Yi Qianyu actually impolitely descended from the sky. She took off her shoes, revealing her snow-white feet. Her long and slender legs slowly descended from the air as her dress fluttered in the wind. Under the illumination of the moonlight, she truly resembled a celestial maiden descending from the moon, even more beautiful than a painting. What a beautiful woman! In just an instant, the tourists on the lake all turned their gazes over, attracting the attention of many. She's a heaven-defying beauty. Everyone stared at her beautiful countenance, sexy figure, snow-white skin, and long and slender legs. They were instantly unable to shift their gazes away. Qin Wentian was stunned once more, staring dumbfoundedly at this scene. He truly regretted it, he shouldn't have come together with her. Your luck with women isn't bad at all. There are two beauties in the Azure Mystic Immortal realms who are deeply in love with you. After you came to the Supreme Ancient Immortal realms, you actually have such a beauty accompanying you. Princess Kitamura coldly spoke. Although she was praising Qin Wentian for his luck with women, everyone could hear the sarcasm in her tone. Yu Huang, during these years, I've always been worried about your safety. Have you been well? Qin Wentian knew that he wouldn't be able to explain himself, hence, he didn't bother to. Is that so? With such a beauty accompanying you, and a beauty at the Immortal Emperor realm, you can even do so well as a bandit. Why would you still think of me? Princess Kitamura coldly spoke. Qin Wentian glanced at Princess Kitamura, only to see that her gaze was fixed on Yi Qianyu. She basically wasn't looking at him. Yi Qianyu's figure floated down from the air. Her body trembled lightly and after that, she actually danced gracefully under the moonlight. In an instant, the gazes of the crowd could no longer shift away. The dance of the fairies in the pavilion below Yi Qianyu was also extremely beautiful, but at this moment, no one was able to appreciate it. All the attention was focused on Yi Qianyu. Her dance seemed to contain some sort of magical power. The moment she started dancing, everyone was drawn in, gradually falling into a trance. When Qin Wentian saw this dance, he also had no way to shift his gaze away. Once again, he was stunned by Yi Qianyu. There were many beauties in the immortal realms, beauties as common as the clouds. He had seen many dances performed by fairies, but he had never seen such a beautiful dance before. In addition, this dance was performed by Yi Qianyu. A supreme beauty paired with a world-shaking dance. This side of the lake instantly fell into silence. The moonlight shone down on Yi Qianyu. It was like she was the only person left in this world, only her dance existed. The maidens below the pavilion stopped. They walked out and were similarly admiring Yi Qianyu. This was a true dance, it didn't seem like a dance of the mortal realm. Even for the maidens, they couldn't shift their gazes away for a long time. For those without great willpower, they would instantly be deeply attracted, unable to extricate themselves. That spiraling dance, that dancing fairy, that swaying figure, that long hair fluttering in the wind, every scene was deeply imprinted in the minds of everyone. Qin Wentian suddenly saw Yi Qianyu smiling at him as she spun around. That smile seemed to have seeped into his soul, transforming into a mark that actually caused Qin Wentian to involuntarily tremble. Princess Kitamura stared dumbfoundedly for a moment. After that, her gaze slowly shifted to Qin Wentian, who was beside her. When she saw Qin Wentian being so attracted that he couldn't extricate himself, she sighed. No wonder he couldn't resist such a beautiful maiden. No man would be able to resist such a beauty. In addition, not only was she beautiful, she was also charming, capable of seeping into one's soul. Is there a reason why you invited me here today? Princess Kitamura no longer mocked Qin Wentian. She seriously asked. Qin Wentian awoke from the beautiful dance. He transmitted his voice to Princess Kitamura. Back then when I went to the mine, I didn't expect that I would be gone for over 10 years. I was worried that you might be at a disadvantage under the Jialan Monarch. Although I heard that you are favored by the Li-Fire Empyrean, I'm still worried and wanted to visit you. Princess Kitamura's beautiful eyes flashed with a strange light. After that, she replied, I'm fine. The Li-Fire Empyrean personally appointed me to assist the Jialan Monarch. But in truth, I'm considered someone from the Li-Fire Empyrean's side. The Jialan Monarch wouldn't dare to do anything to me. Qin Wentian nodded lightly. If that's the case, I can be at ease. Given your talent and beauty, no matter where you go, you would be valued. Beauties always have an advantage, let alone someone as beautiful as you. Are you praising me? Princess Kitamura calmly asked. Naturally. Qin Wentian nodded. Then how do you compare to her? Princess Kitamura inclined her head and stared at the dancing silhouettes. However, she instantly regretted asking this. She silently cursed herself for asking this question. Could it be that she was provoked by Qin Wentian earlier? Both of you are extremely rare in the world, each of you has your own unique beauty. She is like a beauty under the moon, able to tempt the masses. As for you, you are like a goddess under the moon, sacred and inviolable. Why is there a need to compare? Qin Wentian laughed. Princess Kitamura didn't say anything. She continued, in that case, are you prepared to continue being a bandit? Could it be that you don't know what it means to be a bandit in the supreme ancient immortal realms? You would never be able to show your true face to others, or you would be hunted down endlessly. Given your talent, even if you no longer want to be a bandit, you can still go to other places to temper yourself. In fact, it wouldn't be a problem for you to join any major power. Qin Wentian sighed in his heart. He turned his gaze ahead again. When Princess Kitamura asked this question, he suddenly understood why Yi Qianyu would treat him like this. Even if he didn't have any other feelings for Yi Qianyu in his heart, would he really be able to leave just like that after Yi Qianyu treated him like this? After all, humans weren't emotionless creatures. It was impossible for them to fall out with each other. If he wanted to leave, at the very least, he would have to wait until he could truly do something for Yi Qianyu and repay her kindness before he left. Princess Kitamura stared at Qin Wentian's expression and seemed to have understood something. In the end, he still couldn't overcome the charms of a beauty. I understand. Princess Kitamura spoke in a light voice. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled and shook his head. Did she really understand? Clearly, Princess Kitamura didn't understand. However, he still didn't explain. After all, there was no relationship between him and Princess Kitamura. It was just that the crazy old freak dragged Princess Kitamura to accompany him to the immortal realms. Before this, given Princess Kitamura's strength, she could take care of him. But now, after he recovered to his peak, he no longer needed Princess Kitamura to take care of him. A messaging crystal suddenly appeared in Princess Kitamura's hand. Qin Wentian started before he understood. A strand of immortal sense gushed forth from him, entering into Princess Kitamura's messaging crystal. At the same time, he also took out his own messaging crystal. Princess Kitamura did the same thing as him, sending a strand of her immortal sense into it. In this case, in the future, they would be able to communicate directly through their messaging crystals. In the future, you have to be more careful. Tell them that it's best for them not to continue plundering the mines in the Jialan monarch's territory. Also, they mustn't be discovered no matter what. The Lifefire Palace would definitely be enraged. Once they learn of your identities, the Jialan monarch would directly borrow experts from the Lifefire Palace to kill you all. Princess Kitamura kept her messaging crystal as she spoke. Qin Wentian nodded, you as well. The hearts of humans are unfathomable. When working for the Lifefire Empyrean, you have to keep a low profile and don't easily offend others. I understand. Princess Kitamura nodded. After that, the boat under her feet slowly moved forward. And at this moment, Yi Qianyu's dance also gradually came to a halt. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.